for the first time in like 7 years.
Yeah, you missed his return on Friday.
I missed his triumphant return. So we man embraced, we touched tips, and it was great.
That's right. I was here on Friday. Yeah. You were not.
Yes.
You know what happened?
Well, I'm guessing Buck was back.
Yeah, I laid out. I just let him do the 4 hours.
You just let him go.
The people wanted Buck.
He was so pent up with like 4 months of hot takes that it came spilling out.
And I did have hot takes, especially about Girl Scout cookies.
You sure did. Yeah.
Oh, hot Girl Scout. That thing's a sham and that it's a multi-level pyramid scheme.
Well, that could all be true, but mostly that they're delicious and I have an opinion on which ones are best.
See, I've never understood the Girl Scout cookie. I just haven't. Like, if you take away the cute little Girl Scout, like you feel bad for them when you buy them, no one would buy those cookies.
Oh, hard disagree.
If you put those things just on shelves and you remarketed those, and those were not Girl Scout cookies, they were just Foster Farms, whatever. Dude, there's 1,000 better cookies than that cookie. You walk into any store and that's not even like a top 5, top 10 cookie. It's the biggest marketing scheme known to man.
Where does Rob sit on this? Do you agree with this, Isaac?
No.
Yeah, you would still buy the Girl Scout cookies off the shelf, wouldn't you?
I think the thing about the Girl Scout, I see what he's saying. I just don't, I think it's, the thing about Girl Scout cookies is it's the whole thing. It's the idea that you are giving to the stupid little girls.
I don't know, man. I think they make a damn good cookie. That's what I think.
Yeah, I know. I wouldn't agree with that. Like, if you put it that way, it's not
like the best, like the Thin Mints, like people would still buy the Thin Mints.
Well, they're delicious because cookies are delicious.
Yeah, but that's
they're not the best cookies.
That's like saying an Oreo cookie is a good cookie. It's not. It's cheap and it's small and you can shove a bunch in your fat face.
Well, right, but the Thin Mints are way better than an Oreo.
How about when Schultze was in here last week saying that McDonald's has a top 10 burger?
What?
It's absurd.
Well, it's that idea.
You're making the same statement.
It may be delicious, but
I do not think of Girl Scout cookies as the McDonald's of their variety or of their category. But here we are.
Why would I, when I could get I go into New Seasons, I eat at their hot bar a lot, and they've got their fresh cookies right there. For like a buck,
fresh baked cookies is a whole different ball.
For like $1.50, I can get a big giant whatever I'm looking for. There's 10 cookies there that if you played them versus a Thin Mint, it's Kansas City versus the Sister Mary of the poor. It's not even a competition. You're buying the Girl Scout cookie because, again, they're cheap. There's a lot of them.
And they're delicious.
And you can shove them down your face and you think you're doing a good thing, like a good deed. It's like,
And they're so easy to get. Yeah. Like it's once a year.
Yeah, they're everywhere.
You see the little girls at the Fred Meyer's and you're shamed into paying for cookies that you don't want.
Exactly.
It's great. I love it. I love the whole thing. But maybe we have learned that we need to put Girl Scout cookies into their own category, much like you can't really say McDonald's food is in any other category other than fast food.
Yes, it's a fast food cookie.
Right. It's like, it's not an elite cookie, but in its own class, they make good.
An elite fast food cookie.
They make a good cookie. I mean, I the Thin Mints are delicious. I don't care what anyone says, but at the same time, there's better cookies out there.
Yes.
Better cookies out there.
All I'm saying, you strip that and you put them on the shelf of the store. No one's moving that merchandise. It's a marketing thing. It's a multi-level marketing scam.
That may be true. I still think I'd buy them.
Really? Out of all the cookies on the...
I've gone out of my way to buy Girl Scout cookie flavored ice creams. They're not even the cookie. I like the flavor so much.
Wow. All right.
Thin Mint ice cream, Samoa's ice cream.
We're learning something.
Passionate P1 of Girl Scout cookies, Ryan Buckley.
Look at me. I'm a snacker. Come on.
That is coming in hot.
So if you missed Friday's show, that's Buckley. He's back.
Yeah.
He is back.
Where's a crumble cookie when I need it? Although I got to take out a loan to get 4 of
delicious.
Those. And you eat one of those, you're going to have a heart attack because they're like 8 million calories, but cheaty, those things are good.
Is that the one that somebody brought to us one time?
Yes. Yeah. They're
little fancy cookie.
They're fancy cookies. And you get like 4 of them like in a box and it's like $20 or something, but and each one, I'm not kidding, it is a full on dessert, but they are delightful. And then they only offer so many that they rotate them like every week. So you may want like a certain one, but if it's not available that week, again, it's the scarcity thing. Come back, limited edition.
Yeah. There's cookies in the break room right now.
Yeah, I saw that. Someone made some cookies. I had to walk by those. I got to avoid cookies. I
walked by them too.
Cookies are dangerous.
However, I did have an almond Roca candy.
Well, again, you can justify that. It's small.
I felt better about that.
I have one Roca.
Yeah, than the cookie.
Yeah.
Well, did you buy a car you can't afford?
No, I did not.
You were down at Barrett Jackson?
I was down at Barrett Jackson. I did make an entire weekend of horrible decisions. I feel terrible right now. I probably should be dead, but I'm back. And no, I did not buy anything. See, I didn't go down till Friday, and anything I can afford is gone by like Wednesday.
Oh.
Because when you get to Friday, I don't think I saw a car sell for less than 150.
Oh, it's a week-long thing?
It's a week-long thing. And so, yeah, I just go down on Friday, miss the one day of work. And, yeah, Friday already it's ramping up. And then,
now Sunday
hits and, you see cars. I think they had a 63 Gullwing Mercedes that was the top one. 3.3, I think it went for.
Wow.
Trump sold his Lambo.
Trump was there?
No, but I'll tell you what.
Yo, boy?
The most fascinating part of that whole thing, right?
He has a Lambo?
Well, see, there was some clever marketing. Speaking of like a level, like a 2 pyramid scheme. So you walk around and they have everything out for bid, like you can go and see. And then after people buy them, they'll put the sold sticker on them so you can go see what everything's sold for. It's just this enormous thing. You can't even see everything. It's just too much to see. It's an unbelievable experience. Like, highly recommend going if you've never been, if you like cars. But in one of the main like halls, they have all the big cars. Like, hey, these are going to be, they call it like Saturday night. It's like Super Saturday. This is where all the big money is. And one of them was, they had Trump's, it was like a blue, like 87, like Lamborghini. And it wasn't really a nice car. Like, I mean, it's a Lamborghini, but it's not super collectible. Like, they don't go for that much money, but it was like Donald Trump's Lambo. And so we were like, and it was being put amongst the really, really expensive cars. And so we were like, what is
this? Says 97.
Is it a 97? I thought it was an 87.
It's a 97 Lamborghini Diablo.
Yeah, and it was like bright blue.
Yeah, it's pretty ugly.
Yeah, and so we were all intrigued by this. And so we're sitting there and like you're watching like these $1 million cars go by. And, because the celebrities sell their cars. Like Goldberg was there, the wrestler. He was selling a couple cars. Michael Buffer like sold his car, like some musicians. So the people that do the celebrity, like Steven Tyler, like the celebrities that sell their cars, a lot of them, they show up. So we were kind of sitting there and Trump's car is like 2 away. So you can see it like off of the stage, right? And I'm telling you, because we were like, I wonder what sort of reaction this is going to get. He's a very polarizing guy. And as Trump's car comes into the thing, so it's like, think about like on deck, right? Like the crowd is, like there's juice. And we just watched the car sell for $3 million. And when that happens, that place is a buzz. I am telling you, when that ugly ass Lambo rolled up on stage, if there was any doubt on what the biggest event of that weekend was, it was that. USA! USA! I'm really rich. The entire crowd stands up, and now everyone's just looking to see if he's going to show up. Like people are just like looking around like,
Wait, when was this? Friday?
This was Saturday.
Oh.
Like everyone.
I was gonna say on Friday he was in court.
Yeah, everyone's looking around. The place is just crazy. It's like everyone stood up. Everyone. And here's the thing. About halfway through the auction, they slipped this one in. He hasn't owned it in like 15 years. 2 other people owned it after him. And it set a record for that particular model of Lambo. It sold for like 30% more than any other Lambo of that.
Just because he once owned it?
Just because he once owned it. And the weirdest part, like I'm telling you, people are going badass crazy. They're looking at this thing. They're playing up the Trump angle and they gavel it. It's like sold, boom, sold for, I don't know, like 600,000 or something. And off it goes, by far the cheapest of that run of cars. I was like, really? I'm like, my gosh. And it wheels off the stage and I ask you not, 20% of that crowd got up and left. They were there for that one thing and that one thing only. Dude, like, so if you want to see if that guy has pull, I'm telling you, the biggest thing that happened that weekend was that car. And it was so weird to watch people just shuffle out. The moment that car was gone, 25% of the crowd just gets up and solemnly shuffles outside. They're like, we're done.
I can't picture.
It's crazy.
I can't picture him driving.
I know, it's weird,
like,
right?
There's no way he drives, right?
And
not anymore.
Not
He's
anymore.
President,
but he drove that. I don't.
Did he?
Well, it was his.
He had the chopper.
He bought it from the factory.
I just don't see him ever driving.
I don't know. It'd be weird to see him in that hair because it's a convertible and the hair. I don't know. And it's an ugly ass car, but someone bought it. Someone spent an extra $170,000 because he once owned it.
All right. Well, good for them.
Yeah. So anyway, that was
They probably have a lot of money.
that was by dude, the money at that place.
Because why else would you want that car?
Yeah, well, no one that buys those cars, none of those are driven. Like every one of those cars that comes across has like 5 miles on it. It's
Well,
like,
what do you do with it? You just put it in your garage?
yeah, it's just a museum piece. Most of those will never be driven. Like I mean, every one of those cars that sells for a couple $1,000,000. I think the maybe the top one maybe had 1,500 miles on it. And you're talking about cars from the 60s, 70s.
So these are like car collector guys.
Yeah.
Like Jay Leno.
Oh, the amount of money at that place is insane. It is very surreal to see two dudes just who look completely inconspicuous. You would never know, wearing mom jeans and like bad comb overs, but they have like, you know, a taut 20 something on their arm, just getting a bidding war over something. You know, it's like 100, 200, 300, 400. And the next thing you know, it's like 1.6. And they're like, 1.9, 2.2. And it's like sold. And that guy will never drive the car.
Where is a thing like that? Is it at a like a convention center?
Yeah, it's like it's like a stockyard thing. It's like called West something or other. It's like a big. It's an enormous place, like where they would do like a rodeo or a stock show or something, and they set up a ton of tents, and there's a big stage, and there's music. Sammy Hagar played down there, and
Sammy Hagar.
Yeah, he was selling a Ferrari, I think it was. And he was there, and
how old is he now?
He's old as dirt. He looks old.
Did you hear him play?
Yeah, a little bit.
Sound good?
Yeah, actually, he sounded way better than you would think.
Yeah,
yeah. But
better than David Lee Roth.
Yes. But the best part is,
God, Hagar's 76.
Yeah, he's old. Yeah, he looks it, but he sounds pretty good.
Wow.
The best part though is the just the scenery, the amount of old money and young gals. It's hilarious. That's hands down the best part of that thing. There's a lot of like daughter, niece.
Now, who is Barrett and who is Jackson? Do you know that?
I do know I'm trying to remember one of the families is the one that started it, and they do have like a son or a grandson that's like oversees everything. He's there walking around like in a blazer. He's like the King Poobah.
Now, can you get good deals there, or is everything just get bid up because all the richies are?
You get good deals on stuff.
Swinging their D's.
You can get good deals on stuff that's not super like stuff that falls through the cracks. But no, if most of the stuff there is because you want it and you want it now, and you can't find it anywhere else. Yeah, so there's not, you know.
Scarcity.
Scarcity.
It's all about scarcity.
All about scarcity.
Founded by Tom Barrett and Russ Jackson.
Yeah. And one of their descendants is always there running around. So if you wanted to get like if you showed up with like 60 grand and were like, I'm going to walk away with like a cool kind of car that just, no expectations, you can probably steal something pretty cool for 35, 40, 50 G's. But if you want something specific, yeah, get ready because 9 other people want it too. And, you're going to get into a
Scottsdale.
Yeah.
Probably sunny down there, huh?
Yeah, it was 72 and we had a pool and
lucky you.
It was good times.
It's 60 out here today.
Yeah, I was a little surprised. I came back, no rain. It was great.
I'm in shorts and flip-flops.
You are. Not
I
me.
did yard work.
I'm wearing my punt sweatshirt
yes,
today.
Punts. Let's go.
Let's go.
All right, well, did you guys see those football games at all?
I did see the foosball.
You guys catch those?
I'm not sure which one was a bigger meltdown. Take your pick. Flip a coin.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot to put up the poll question. I got to get that done.
Well, two different.
You just reminded me.
Well, it's 2 different kinds of meltdowns, but meltdowns indeed.
All right, we'll start there next on The Fan.
What's your opinion?
It's thick.
All right. Here is our poll question today on X at 1080 The Fan. As always, it is brought to you by the fine sponsor, AAA Heating and Cooling, a family business helping families for over 60 years. AAAIAQ.com. Now, Friday, we asked you who will be playing in the Super Bowl. The winner there was Ravens-Niners. Mm-hmm. That's what everybody thought.
Yeah.
38%. Second was Lions-Ravens, 29%. Only 19% had Niners-Chiefs. And then Lions-Chiefs was 14%.
Well, me, like a lot of people, foolishly thought that this version of Kansas City was the worst version we've seen. And Baltimore all year had been hunters of men and just looked like, hands down, the most dominant team. And someone forgot to tell Kansas City that, and Baltimore didn't show up. The Detroit one, it's interesting because the Detroit one is a collapse in its own right. I mean, to lose that game if you're Detroit, like you can't. It's almost impossible to lose that game. Like the amount of things, because everyone's going to talk about Dan Campbell, and we'll get into it, but I can point to 9 plays, that if any one of those plays is made, Detroit wins that game.
I've got 4 off the top of my head.
Yeah. I mean, it is a absolute perfect storm of ineptitude and choke jobs.
Well, if you're going to blow a lead like that, you have to help.
Yes.
Yes.
Like
you have to, if the Niners were going to come back and win, the Lions had to help them.
And they did at every turn.
Yeah.
Not a single, in the second half, not a single coach, offense or defensive player made a single play in that entire second half. You know that after playing damn near a perfect first half, I mean, it's inconceivable.
Well, they are the Lions.
That happened. I understand, but it's just, I'm still trying to process what happened. Now, on the other side of things, I outside of Minnesota that year, that Minnesota, I think, was 14-2 or 13-3. And that Minnesota team, which I think outside of maybe that undefeated Patriots, it's the best team that I've ever seen not win a Super Bowl. And they lost to the Atlanta Falcons. And Gary Anderson hadn't missed a kick all year.
Chris Chandler.
And that to this day is still the most puzzling game I've ever seen. I think second behind that is probably the Ravens. To come out in the first half and just no show on defense. And then the defense basically come out in the second half and completely shut down everything Kansas City was doing, and still have your offense with an MVP and the number 1 rush game in the NFL. The number 1 rush game, who, by the way, took their second possession and rammed it right down their throats. And then the rest of the way, they ran the ball with their running back 6 times. 6 times. And I think Lamar only had 2 or 3 dedicated rushes. I've never seen anything like it. It's the number 28 rush defense in the NFL in Kansas City, but it's one of the best. I think it's top 3 against the pass. And you have a team that is the number 1 rush offense and doesn't throw the ball particularly well. And you decided after the second drive that you ran the ball down their throat, including Lamar on a design quarterback run on the 4th and short. You just decided after that you were going to run the ball 3 more times the rest of the game. I know we sit here and we say that officials need to be allowed to be interviewed after the game. I want coordinators. I need Todd Monken to sit down and explain to me what the hell was going on with that.
What did Harbaugh say? I had a hard time finding his post game.
It's beyond. There's not an answer for it. He just kept saying, well, it's, what we thought was a good look, and what Kansas City was doing.
Well, there is an answer.
What?
There's only one answer.
Statistically, it was way off. I guess during the entire season, they ran the ball on first down like 49% of the time and dropped it to 26%. This time, they totally went away from their identity.
69% in the first half on first and second down, they threw the ball. What?
What?
Well, I don't.
Are you guys are missing there's one answer.
And that is?
The NFL is fixed.
It has to be. It has to be. What did they tell the Ravens?
Harbaugh looked so dejected the whole game. It's like he read the script.
Well, and like Lamar.
That's what it is.
Lamar's the best athlete I've seen play that position since Michael Vick. And you can make the argument that he's the best athlete to ever play that. Even on the one where Lamar broke through on the second touchdown drive. Do you remember that? He had an angle and he stopped. He just I don't know if he was concerned about being hurt. I don't know if he had something going on. But the entire game, not only did he look unsure of himself throwing the football, he looked unsure running. Like, he had a corner. Lamar Jackson doesn't get run down, and he stopped and kind of cut back in and then just fell down.
What point of the game was that?
It was the second drive where they went down and scored their only touchdown, right? It was in the first quarter. I think it was their second drive. It was either, I think it was like 4th and 1 or 3rd and 2, whatever. And they ran, I think it was 4th down, and they ran a little power game with Lamar. It was dedicated quarterback run.
I don't remember.
And he breaks through the first line, and I'm like, this is to the house. It's now, they scored anyways, but I'm just saying, like, he took off and then he got the angle and he just stopped.
Well,
and all game long when he was running and when he was scrambling, he looked hesitant. He didn't know what he was doing. For a 2-time MVP, and I try to defend Lamar because I think he gets a lot of unfair criticism. And we crap on him a lot. But that's a 2-time MVP with a horrible track record in the postseason. And we thought maybe he'd put that to bed in the second half against the Texans. But that whole performance that he had with his legs, with his feet, with his decision-making, I don't know what to say other than that is a absolute choke job by that.
Well, I mean,
that entire offense and him as well.
I get the game plan thing. But I mean, I think sometimes the champs like Kansas City, they make you unlike yourself.
But
they get up in your kitchen.
I understand, but this
it's
is my
why
thing.
They're good.
I get it. If you Kansas City is a run first team. Everyone wants to say Mahomes.
Well, no, I'm not talking about the game plan. I'm talking about just Lamar.
But that's what I'm saying. Just in general, like, I get it. Like Kansas City Kansas City ran the ball for less than three carries. Or 3 yards per carry, but they ran it 32 times. So I get if you're saying, hey, man, we're running, and the other team is making us uncomfortable, and then we kind of panic. Baltimore never tried. Like, it's inconceivable to me.
No, I get that part. I was just saying with Lamar, like that one is inexcusable. I don't really understand what they were doing. Everybody was saying that, right?
Yeah.
We're watching that game. We're like, what are they doing?
Yeah.
Even late into the fourth quarter, they still had the opportunity to kind of change that and just slow down.
Yeah.
Because Kansas City's defense seemed gassed. They had already lost Minihue and Gay was out. It's like, you are kind of – I mean, they had opportunities all the way to the very end that they squandered. So that part I can't explain away. That one is inconceivable. I'm just talking about – you were talking about Lamar choking. I mean, I don't think that's a choke. I just give credit to – a great football team, and they are great. That's what the great teams do to even MVP level players is they are up in your kitchen. They make you think. They make you hesitant.
Yeah.
And he was unsure the whole game. And I just think you got to give Steve Spagnuolo and Kansas City's defense the credit for that. I don't look at that as just a choke. I mean, we expected him to play better, but maybe shame on us. Kansas City is just freaking they're the champs for a reason.
Yeah.
We're looking at a dynasty here.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's what they can do to you.
And I'm not trying to take away credit from Kansas City because, again, their defense has been great all year. But if you told me before that game that Baltimore holds them to 17 points or just says shuts out Kansas City in the second half, I mean, I just there's no way that Kansas City wins that game, and yet they win very comfortably. I just have never in my life seen a team that has been so dominant doing one thing and then never do it.
That I get.
That's the part that I just
that.
So on their touchdown drive, the only touchdown drive they had, right? They still came out on first down and tried to throw with Lamar Jackson, which I don't understand. And then they threw again, can't figure out what they're doing. And then they actually ran the ball and they just started shoving it down their throat. And, Gus Edwards broke off that 15-yard run. They go in, they score a touchdown on the Zay Flowers, which is the nice touchdown pass. And then they didn't attempt to run the ball again after that. They just stopped.
I know.
And it's like going into a boxing match or an MMA match, whatever, and you're like, hey, this guy's got the best jab in the world. Everything he does is set up off of the jab, right? Like this everything he does. The left hook comes off of it, the uppercut, all of it comes out after the jab. And he comes out in the first round and he has a lot of success with his jab. And you're like, all right. And then the rest of the fight, he's like, nah, I don't want to do it. And for people saying that Kansas City was not running 8-man fronts. They just weren't. They just never ran the ball. As Buck alluded to, 69% on first and second downs. That's like the anti-Baltimore Ravens. And when you look at teams that have success, and Detroit does this, you saw it in the Niner game, you saw it in the second half against the Lions when the Niners did it. The Packers have done this, the Ravens do it. So much of the NFL is predicated on early play action. Like if you want to throw the ball even, you still have to do it off of play action on those early downs. And Kansas City, I just at some point was like, hey, these idiots aren't going to run the ball against us, and good luck getting your guys free against our secondary, which is one of the best in the league. And then, by the time Baltimore had figured out Kansas City's offense, and they did, Baltimore's defense played great in the second half. I mean, they shut down Kansas City completely. And by then, you just kept waiting for the offense to figure it out, and they just kept having stupid penalties and turnovers. And
well, the other thing too is, you can't turn it over twice in the end zone.
No,
I mean that's it right there. I mean, they might win the game if they don't do just those two plays right there.
8 penalties, 4 of them personal fouls, 2 turnovers into the end zone. You're not.
It felt like the moment was a little too big for them.
Agreed. And Kansas City's hand never shakes. I mean, they're a different animal.
All right, here's today's poll question. It is up there on X at 1080 The Fan, and we will come back and talk about this. But the question is today: who deserves the sharpest criticism following championship weekend? John Harbaugh, Lamar Jackson, Zay Flowers, or Dan Campbell? Vote hard. We talk about that and get into both games in depth. Next, here's Buck.
Now, from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
Brought to you by Crunch Fitness. Only 24 cents to enroll this January. Find your Crunch time in Portland, Vancouver, and online at crunch.com. First on The Fan, Super Bowl matchup is set for Super Bowl 58. It'll be the 49ers and the Chiefs battling it out in Las Vegas. The Chiefs dominated on the defensive side of the ball to beat Baltimore, while San Francisco erased a 17-point deficit to beat the Detroit Lions. The 49ers opened as a 3-point favorite against KC. That line has been bet down as San Francisco is now -1 at some books. Kansas City will be without pass rusher Charles Omenihu in the Super Bowl, as reports indicate he tore his ACL in Sunday's victory. Meanwhile, on the coaching carousel, the Seahawks will interview a pair of assistants whose teams were eliminated on Sunday. They'll talk with Lions offensive coordinator Ben Johnson, as well as Ravens defensive coordinator Mike Macdonald. Reports indicate that the Washington Commanders intend to interview both of those coaches as well. And on the hardwood tonight, the Blazers host the Philadelphia 76ers. MVP favorite Joel Embiid will miss his second straight game due to a knee injury. Tip-off is at 7. The Blazers are 9-point underdogs. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Ryan Buckley from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk. The pro football playoffs are here. Watch and wager on every game at Spirit Mountain Casino. Visit them at spiritmountain.com.
The home of Primetime with Isaac and Sue. Weekdays 3 to 7, 1080 The Fan.
3 little words no parent wants to hear.
My tummy hurts.
And it always seems to happen at the worst times. Like in the middle of the morning rush, when you still have homework to check and lunches to pack, and of course, you're already late for work. Luckily, there's Pepto Kids. Pepto Kids gummies help relieve occasional stomach upsets, turning those 3 words into these 3 words.
I feel better.
Bad time for stomach upsets? Good time for Pepto Kids gummies. Fast support for little tummies.
These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
At Grainger, we're for the ones who specialize in saving the day and for the ones who've mastered the art of keeping business moving. We offer industrial-grade supplies for every industry with same-day pickup and next-day delivery on most orders, all backed by real people ready to help. So you can get the right answers and products right when you need them.
Sharpest criticism following championship weekend. John Harbaugh, Dan Campbell, Lamar Jackson, Zay Flowers. Vote. It's our poll question on X at 1080 The Fan. Who do you think?
It's Harbaugh.
Yeah.
You can't show up that flat. You just can't. You're at home. Again, you've been the most dominant team all year long. You're playing the least version of Kansas City that we've seen in this dynasty, even though they're very, very good. And you came out with a piss poor defensive plan and you allowed Kansas City to do whatever they wanted at the beginning. Like, I understand Travis Kelce hasn't looked good all year. He just hasn't. Mahomes hasn't had a great year. Neither one has. But you saw him the previous week, and Kelce looked like the old Kelce. And Baltimore went into that game plan with no attempt whatsoever to do anything. He wasn't chipped at the line, nothing. They went 11 for 11 to Kelce in the first half, and there was no adjustment. Now, in the second half, they adjusted. But you came into that with a piss-poor game plan, offense and defense. Defense made adjustments. The offense never did. You never got your quarterback comfortable. You were completely flat. You were so hyped up before the game and chippy, and you let emotions get the best of you. And I thought your team was beyond undisciplined throughout the entire game, and that's on the head coach. So when you have all three phases of your game and all the penalties mixed in there, and you just aren't prepared to play at home when you've been so dominant all year, I don't know who else to put that on other than the head coach. So there's a lot of blame to go around. But to me, at least the Lions showed up, and then maybe the moment was too big for them. The Ravens never showed up, and that's at home. That's inexcusable.
Yeah, I think it's Dan Campbell for me.
Yeah.
And we'll get to that game and his mistakes, but
yeah, it's not good.
It's not good at all. It was shades of Oregon, Washington.
Yeah,
it's shades of Dan Lanning.
And there was one. And speaking of the Lanning thing, I haven't thought about this when I was watching it. One, I don't really have a problem with, and remember that it was the Lanning one. I don't necessarily have a problem with one. It's who you are. The second one, it's indefensible.
Yeah, the Vancouver Ford text line saying it's got to be Dan Campbell leaving points on the board. What's up with coaches named Dan that don't want to add to the scoreboard?
Yeah, the first one in the second half, like I said, whatever.
Well, if you want to go through them, we can.
Yeah.
There were multiple that were bad decisions. Let's stick with Ravens Chiefs for now, and then we'll get to
shift over.
Yeah, I think we can do it that way because there is a lot of blame to go around with Baltimore. You're right; it does fall on the head coach ultimately.
Yeah.
But I mean, if Zay Flowers, that play, low key best play of the weekend was Snead knocking that ball out on the goal line.
It's phenomenal.
Unbelievable play.
That was poetry, too, because it was Snead who got taunted by Flowers right before on that penalty. He flipped the ball at him. He shoved him to the ground. And Snead's like, watch this, dude.
McDuffie even said after the game, he said that when they did that and they got the penalty, I guess Snead in the huddle turned to McDuffie and some of the other secondary guys and was like, I'm going to get that back. And there they are a couple plays later. And
just the timing of that play.
It's unbelievable.
It was just incredible. Yep. And I guess, not really lucky. It was
a great play.
Zay Flowers stretching that ball over the goal line. They tell you not to do that, but at the same time, he's,
you're trying to make a play.
You're trying to make a play.
He's half a yard away.
That you do that 100 times, he does not get that ball but once.
No, but it's one of those things too that Flowers didn't need to. And this is something they point out many times, but Belichick and a couple other coaches have always said, unless it's fourth down and goal, stop reaching for the damn goal line.
Don't do it.
Don't do it. Worst case scenario. First off, if you just dive, you're in, probably anyways. And worst case scenario is it's first and goal at the half-yard line, and you punch it in.
But if they get that, though, see, this is why it doesn't, to me, fall all on John Harbaugh.
14-7.
If they get that, it's 17-14.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, 17-14.
And I would have loved to see how that game played out after that. Like, Baltimore, for as bad as they still had opportunities.
They were still in it
all the way to the very end. So if like the Flowers thing, that's kind of fluky, but nice play by Snead. If they get that, well, and then the other thing is, I don't know how it's on John Harbaugh that Lamar Jackson threw that flutter ball into triple coverage.
Yeah, he pulled we said this one with Jordan Love the week before. He threw it into a defensive meeting. The defense was congregating in one spot. They were having a nice conversation.
So ill-advised.
And he decided to throw it right in the middle of it.
Terrible. So none of that.
Never say anything like it.
Those things are not John Harbaugh's fault.
No.
I will point the finger at him on one other thing that I haven't heard anybody bring up. So they had all three timeouts.
Yep.
And it was 17-10, and Kansas City has the ball. What? Oh God, I don't even remember. 2-something. 2:45. Yeah, so I think they had all three timeouts. And it was obviously before the 2-minute warning. Okay, So now you say, well, we've got the 2-minute warning and we've got all 3 timeouts, which is basically a possession.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Harbaugh, and I get what he was doing. He called a timeout on the 3rd down play at 2:18. He could have let that tick down to the 2-minute warning and had one more timeout on the backside of the 2-minute warning, but he wanted to save that 18 or 20 seconds, whatever it was. I get why he did that.
Yeah.
But what he did was he then allowed Kansas City to go to the sideline and go, you know what? They're now out of timeouts. Let's throw it.
Yeah.
Because if he doesn't call that timeout there,
it's a good point.
What are they going to do? They're going to run it.
It's a good
and
point.
they're going to make him burn that last timeout, and you're going to stop that, and you're going to get the ball back.
It's a good point. I was sitting on the couch with my buddy and his dad was there, and he even asked me that. It's funny you bring that up. I don't remember it until you said this, because he even asked me after that when he came to the side and says, "What are they going to do? Are they going to go for it?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "They're going to throw it." And I said, "Because of that." I said, "With the 2-minute warning, it doesn't matter if it's an incomplete pass or not. The clock's going to stop either way, so they're going to throw it." That is interesting. It's funny you bring that up. It's kind of one of those kind of forgotten things. But yeah, it was a bit of a mismanagement thing.
Yeah, they would have gotten the ball back.
And then, of course, the GOAT or whatever you want to call him, is the new GOAT, the ascending GOAT, whatever. It's fitting that entire second half, up until that point, do you realize that the Kansas City Chiefs had 72 yards of offense in the second half? 72 yards. The Ravens defense had completely shut them down. But when they needed it, big balls McGinty back there, Patrick Mahomes, on the most important play of the game, throws it to Stonehands.
Smart.
And he makes a great catch. That's just Kansas City. It's at this point, I doubted them. I said, this isn't a great Chiefs team. It's a very good Chiefs team, but the Ravens are a better team. And yet, when they needed it the most, that son of a gun back there is out there slinging rocks, and he just you can't deny him.
Well, the one thing he doesn't do is he doesn't turn it over.
No, he doesn't make dumb decisions.
Yeah, exactly. So even though they were getting shut down, he's not going to help you.
Yeah.
Right? That's the first thing. The second thing is you mentioned Kelsey hadn't been playing well. All of a sudden, he's back to being Gronkowski.
He's on the Barry Bonds plan or whatever. I don't know. It's incredible.
The other thing about Kansas City to me that's really strange, and you just got to give them all the credit in the world, is those receivers for Kansas City drop balls right and left all season.
All year.
And they are not doing it at all now, with the exception of that Hardman fumble in Buffalo. They're catching everything.
Everything.
It's just, you got to give, dude, Kansas City.
It's just ridiculous.
They're incredible.
Yeah.
And I love championship weekend because it all the fluff is out, right? It's big boy football. It's heavyweight coordinator matchups. It's heavyweight head coach matchups. It's heavyweight player matchups all over the field. It is so good. Both games. And look, it doesn't mean it's going to be the prettiest, but both of those games were just absolute heavyweight slobber knockers.
Yeah.
And it comes down to little things. And Kansas City does not give you anything. Yeah. They give you no wiggle room, man. They are so, like you said, 72 yards of offense. That should be enough. Well, guess what? It wasn't. Nope. They are incredible, and we're watching a dynasty, and they may win a third Super Bowl in 5 years. We thought the whole dynasty thing. Oh, well, we're not going to see much of that again now that Tom Brady and Bill Belichick are done, right? Well, there's another one sitting right there.
They remind me, obviously, because it's the only other one we've seen in a while, but
they're amazing.
Some of those New England teams weren't great on paper teams. They just weren't.
But isn't that what I mean? Like,
yeah, exactly.
That goes back to coaches and what they view on tape and how they scheme and how they coach. It's everything. All encompassing.
The mark of greatness is that there's a difference between being just physically dominant and the best team and no one can touch you and that
was Baltimore.
But the difference, and this is why I brought up the New England thing, and Saban had some of this at Bama, and like the truly special thing is there's times when you're watching Kansas City, especially this year, where it doesn't look great and it's not the most talented team. And, they do look vulnerable, but those sons of guns, like you said, they give you nothing. They just, when the moment is at the biggest and the lights are the brightest, they always find a way to make a play. And That's Kansas City. It really is unique. It just reminds me of those Patriot teams that you just had that remember we used to say either you bet on New England or you don't bet at all. And I like a dumbass, I bet against Kansas City, and I just don't think you can anymore. It's either you ride Mahomes or you don't bet it. And because, look, every team loses. It happens, but it's the most trustworthy team that we've seen since the dominant run of those New England Patriot teams. And it's coaching and it's defense and it's Kelsey and it's Mahomes and it's just a cultural thing. And you can hate them all you want. And I get it. You're tired of seeing the commercials. I get it. Maybe you're pissed about Taylor Swift. I don't know why. But, deal with it, America. They're back, and it doesn't appear to be going anywhere. And the one that blows my mind is all year long, Travis Kelce looked old, tired, and washed. And that guy gets to the postseason. He has to take the last week of the season off, doesn't care about getting another 1,000 yards and setting records and all that. He took a week off, and I don't know what he did during that bye week, but this looks like Travis Kelce from 3 years ago. And when that guy is playing well, the best safety in the NFL resides in Baltimore. He hadn't given up a touchdown to a tight end all year long.
He played great, though.
He played great, but still, that touchdown they had, that back shoulder touchdown throw, that was the difference in the game.
Yeah.
And you don't beat Kyle Hamilton on that unless you're peak Travis Kelce and peak Patrick Mahomes, and you couldn't play that any better. And it still didn't matter because those guys have been doing that for so long. That is an indefensible throw and catch, and it was amazing. And it was the difference in the game.
Well, like the old Patriots. Now we call them old Patriots.
Yeah.
It wasn't that long ago. But there was always that element of what's Belichick going to come up with? How are they going to slow this offense down? What are they going to see on tape? What are they going to try? And it's less about, the breakdowns of who's matching up against who and more about just there are special coaches in Tampa or in New England, namely Bill Belichick, who could scheme you to death. And I think we saw that with Kansas City.
Yeah.
Spagnuolo.
Great.
And Andy Reid,
By the way, that's the guy that shut down Tom Brady in 2 Super Bowls.
Yeah, I just think we underestimate that element of it because it's hard to quantify. We just look at the Jims and Joes. That's why I love Championship Weekend, and then you get into this level of football. It's all of it. It's X's and O's and Jims and Joes, and the X's and O's I thought was the difference in both teams. All 4 of those teams are loaded with talent.
Yeah.
I get it. Kansas City on paper not as good as Baltimore, but why did they win? The X's and O's part. Ben Johnson, I thought, and we'll get into the NFC game too, but Ben Johnson, I thought was masterful in breaking down San Francisco's defense. But what happened? San Francisco adjusted. Steve Wilkes came back. He's like, okay, well, that part of these games was incredible.
Yep.
In both games.
And we'll talk about
both sides.
The Niners made a call, and we can talk about it on the last 4th down that ended up having to throw to St. Brown that completely flummoxed Ben Johnson, and they baited him into it. And it was what you're talking about. Wilkes made a great X's and O's call, and it was the difference in that game.
But just never. I guess what we learned is it doesn't matter who Kansas City has on their team as long as they have Patrick Mahomes and these coaches. Yeah. Watch out, dude. Yep. They're coming after you, and they're not going to give you an inch.
Nope.
So good. More on this next. We'll get to the NFC game as well. It is 3:50 on the Fan.
We like 3.
I don't know what else to say about Mahomes. 6-year stretch under the age of 28. If he pulls off another Super Bowl, he's already in the Tom Brady conversation.
Well, yeah. Can we also say this? Like Mahomes is already win or lose. It's the best start to any career we've ever seen. But Brady had 3 Super Bowls in his first 6 years, too. He didn't have the numbers that Mahomes had. I mean, we've never seen a guy come into the league and wreck it like this. But can we just stop and put a pause on his resume is not the greatest of all time, right? There's a long way to go. There's such a difference between winning 3 Super Bowls and winning 5 Super Bowls and 6 Super Bowls and 7 Super Bowls. So we can say that we've never seen anything quite like Mahomes, but without saying he's the greatest to ever do it, it's silly. But you're right in that regardless of what happens, 6 years, he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's as good as anyone we've seen during this stretch play the position. You don't think it's going to get any worse. But again, teams change and evolve, and this was his worst year statistically that we've seen. Yet here he is back in another Super Bowl. I just don't like how we have to just extrapolate everything out while you can't just appreciate what he's doing. But at this point, if you wanted to say who's the best you've ever seen play the position and you had to, like, one quarterback for one game, I understand. I totally understand why you would pick Patrick Mahomes.
I think that's what people mean.
Yeah.
And that's what I was thinking watching him. It's like, you know what? Obviously, accomplishments, he is not the greatest of all time. He's got a long way to go.
Yeah.
But as far as
one game,
quarterbacks I've seen play, dude, he's the best I've ever seen. I always used to say, it's like the quarterback debates are so hard because not everybody had the same team, right? Like I always used to me, Dan Marino was the best quarterback I ever watched play.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying he's the best of all time. He was the best quarterback I ever watched play. Mm-hmm. Those are two different statements. Patrick Mahomes may be that guy now.
I don't know if I were to build a quarterback, right? He's plenty big. He's not small.
Yeah, what are you going to take away from him?
He's plenty big. It's not like he's tiny or whatever. He's got plenty of arm. We've seen him throw the deep ball. He doesn't throw the deep ball very much anymore, and we've seen him pick apart defense in this new cover 2 scheme that everyone plays against him. Unbelievable pocket awareness. He's probably the best improv I've ever seen at the position. Now, you can bring up other guys that run around like him, but the problem is that when he runs around, or I guess the problem with other people, he doesn't make dumb mistakes. He runs around like a jackass sometimes, and you think he's either going to get his head taken off or he's going to get it stripped, or he makes these throws unplatformed and these sidearm throws, and it's not like a Brett Favre or an Aaron Rodgers when he throws off his back foot and you're like, God, what were you doing? He has all that improv game,
or he does all that dumb stuff and then he's smart and throws it away because he doesn't have anything there,
and the mistakes never come. And so I don't know. And the pre-snap stuff is good as Manning. He's in complete control. He never seems to put his team in a bad spot pre-snap wise. He very rarely gets fooled. And we'll talk about the Detroit. Jared Goff and the Lions got fooled on that last 4th down conversion. The Niners did a great job. Mahomes doesn't get fooled, like hardly ever. So that's the one thing I'll say. I hate the GOAT conversation 6 years into a career, but I will tell you that if I were building a quarterback in a lab and you gave me this Patrick Mahomes, I don't know what I would take away. Sure, you could say I'd rather have Brett Favre's arm, but it's not like Mahomes is deficient in anything. There is not a weakness in his game, and I don't know where you pick him apart. That's why I said what I would say is 6 years in, there's never been a start to a career, and there's never been someone that came into the league and wrecked it quite the way Patrick Mahomes has.
Well, he just beat Josh Allen in Buffalo.
Yep.
And Lamar Jackson in Baltimore.
Yeah, that one thing, right? Oh, he never plays it. He never has to win away from home, and he lost Tyreek Hill and Kelsey's washed, and no big deal. He
also
goes out and does this.
It feels a bit like he can win any way he wants to now. Like the other cool thing about what they're doing is this is kind of a different version.
Yeah, it is. It is because it's a defensive-minded run-first team. I mean, this is kind of like what New England did. There were years where Brady was slinging it and scoring, and throwing 42 touchdowns, and there were others where they ran the ball and played defense. And Kansas City, the last 2 years, have shifted what their team is and completely revamped it, and it won a Super Bowl, and now they're on the doorstep of winning another one, not being an offensive juggernaut. And I know people are tired of him. I just don't know how I can sit up here and give more credit to Kansas City than than what I'm doing, because it's just it's greatness. You're watching greatness, top to bottom, organizationally. And maybe the best thing to happen to Kansas City is the fact that Spags was such a bad head coach, because no one's going to give him another job, and he just gets to sit there, and you have one of the best defensive coordinators, because without him, they don't win last year's Super Bowl, and they're not winning this year's Super Bowl.
Yeah, he's awesome.
But because Detroit's going to lose theirs, their offensive coordinator, Baltimore's going to lose theirs. No one's going to get Spags. He's going to sit there in Kansas City and keep cranking out this nasty-ass defense to go along with, one of the best players to ever play the game in Mahomes.
All right, let's get to the NFC game. And did Dan Campbell cost the Lions a Super Bowl trip? Next on The Fan.
Back the Thunder to bounce
News, Hot 5, more NFL championship weekend talk. We got to get to Dan Campbell here. Your boy biting kneecaps.
Yeah, bit his own.
Yeah, really.
It's not the reason they lost that game, but he certainly didn't help.
Yeah, I mean...
And on the way up, we're going to bite a kneecap off.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to just solely blame him, but, man... That game's a lot different if he makes some different choices.
Mm-hmm. I kind of blame those receivers, man. They had some awful drops.
Yep.
There were a lot of things in that game, but let's
like I said, it was a complete and total second half meltdown where and I'm not overstating this. There wasn't a single defensive player, 5 possessions for the 49ers, 5 scores. Not a single defensive player made a single play. Including one hitting off a guy's face mask that should have been a surefire interception, wasn't. And your offense didn't make a single play in that entire second half, and your coaches didn't put you in a good spot because you made 2 decisions. And
all right, let's stick to Dan Campbell here,
right.
just right here, and then we'll talk about the rest of the game and all the other stuff later. So because he's getting a lot of heat, okay, and he said after the game he was like, I don't regret any of these decisions. We'll play that clip in a second.
He pulled the Dan landing.
But let's roll through them. And he does do this. I mean, this is his MO.
Yes.
End of the half, he made the right decision.
Yeah.
Take the points.
And that was close. They were on the 5-6 yard line.
They were on the 3.
On the 3, because he even said afterwards, he goes, it was a little far. If we were a little closer, maybe I'd go for it. But I was like, you can't do this with the Niners getting the ball. Kick the field goal, go in, you're up by 3 scores, all the momentum going your way, and he did the right thing.
He did the right thing there. Okay. So the first one of the second half was not a terrible decision.
No.
They were at the San Francisco 28. They were up 24-10.
Yep.
And it was 4th and 2.
Mm-hmm.
That is part and parcel with how Dan Campbell has operated. You're up 14. Boy, if you can get that first down and punch one in, you're up 21, dude. You're sitting pretty... that I don't have a problem with that one.
No, and it's a little bit like I said. I'm going back to that Washington game with Lanning. I thought there was only one of Lanning's that was really egregious. I think there was only one of Campbell's that was really egregious. And that being said, on 4th and 2 when you're running the ball, I still would have liked to put that in someone else's hands, but. They ran the right play. Reynolds was open. Yeah. Goff didn't make a perfect throw, but he hit him in the hands.
Yeah, and he dropped it.
Big drop. That's your second best receiver all year, who had been very good for you. And I'm sorry, if you're a Super Bowl team, you can't drop that ball. You can't do it. That should have been converted. And so I'm with you. It looks bad in hindsight, but if you're Dan Campbell, and this is what Lanning said too, he's like, look, we loved the look. We didn't execute it. And that wasn't even like one of those like, we didn't execute and that it was a poor throw or, whatever. It hit him in the hands.
Well, enter Dave Bartu's theory.
Yeah.
That when you get to 4th down, the pucker factor is something that people don't really account for.
Yeah.
In that little plays, easier plays like that, and it wasn't the easiest catch, but yes, he should have caught it.
It's not a hard catch.
Right, but when it's 4th down and everybody knows you have to make the catch, it's funny how that one gets dropped. First down, second down, that probably doesn't, right? I mean, that is a thing.
Yes.
Okay, so we don't have a problem with that decision. Okay, I would say on that one, the only thing there is if you trade points, it's not a bad idea because you're the one in control. The Niners had just kicked a field goal to start the second half, right? So it was 24-10. Just trade points.
It puts you back up by 3 scores.
Exactly. You're up 17. You're the one ahead. Just take the 3. That would have been conservative. That's not really Dan Campbell's style. Won't kill him for that one.
And if you need to make an aggressive decision later, you can still do that later, but you don't have to do it at that point.
It was a little baffling to me sitting there after he had kicked it to go up by 3 scores at the end of the half to sit there and say, because at that point it's like an 85% kick rate from where they were kicking. I'm like, dude, you just went up by 3 scores. You're going to go back up by 3 scores. Like you said, it just
7 minutes left in the third.
It just didn't make any, I love being aggressive. I love Dan Campbell. I didn't understand if you went with the logic of kicking the first field goal, why this one wasn't exactly the same, but
well, again, just 4th and 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that one we don't kill him for. The second one of the second half was a terrible decision.
Awful.
And this one was
indefensible in my opinion.
They were ahead. They were down 27-24.
Yep.
They were on the San Francisco 30, and it was 4th and 3. If you tie it there, no matter what San Francisco does against your defense, which by the way, your defense was not stopping them at all.
Nope.
No matter what they do, you stay within one score.
Unbelievable.
And he elected to go for it, and that's the one where they blew him up and Goff rolled out and missed.
This is where I'll give San Francisco credit, and Wilkes, who's been maligned, and I get it. Their defense at times is a bit it can be a bit spotty, but they played great in the second half. They ran a man beater. They ran a little mesh combo crossing route, and they sent I forget who it was. I think they sent St. Brown or someone. They sent him in motion, and San Francisco, the defender, followed with it. So everything in their mind was, this is man coverage. And what do you do against man coverage? You run 2 crossing routes. And, whether that's a little rub or just the nature of the cross, one of those 2 guys is going to be open. So I give San Francisco credit that they looked at that and were like, we're going to present you one thing and we're going to give you another. So everything before that snap was man coverage, man coverage, man coverage. And Ben Johnson and Jared Goff both said, hey, this is easy. We got our little routes. And they ran them, and San Francisco didn't. San Francisco ran zone, and they passed it off perfectly. And you could see Goff go to 1 option, 2 option. Oh, crap, here comes the blitz from my side. I'm screwed. I roll out. I'm not an athletic quarterback. And that's where he just kind of threw it up to St. Brown. That was in a big moment. One, it was a dumb decision to go for it. Again, I think from that range, they said it was about an 82% chance of making that kick.
48-yarder.
The idea with 5.5 minutes left, the idea of not tying the game,
I know.
I can't. I love Dan Campbell. I can't process it, but I give San Francisco credit that in that moment, they outcoached Detroit. In that big moment, they fooled a really, really good offense and a really, really good quarterback that doesn't get fooled very often. And it was a great scheme come up by San Francisco, and they made the play.
Another low-key bad move by Campbell, and again, he's not the play caller.
Yeah.
With 1:05 left.
Yep.
Because you had to burn a timeout there because you ran it didn't get it. I get it. They were trying to catch him off guard, run it in.
It forces you to kick onside.
Changed everything.
Yep.
Because if you are able to, if you just throw it,
yep,
and if you don't get it, you get another shot at it, 4th down, you save the timeout.
Yep.
And then you can still run that run
yes,
play, because if you don't get it, you're giving it up anyways.
Correct. So all that, that's a terrible decision.
Yeah.
It's just all of this goes together. If you're only down 7 instead of 10, you can tie the game. But being down 10, the way onside kicks are a joke anymore. You just don't get them.
You don't get them.
So you
have to have the timeouts.
Those decisions absolutely cost Detroit. I'll stop short of saying it cost them the game, but the head coach has got to get out of his own way.
Yeah.
It's really inexcusable.
I can't defend it. I love Dan Campbell, and I said it about Lanning. I'll say it now. You can't love aggressive coaches all year long for being big balls, chip, and then be mad when it doesn't work out. I'm fine. If you're going to be aggressive, that's fine. And I get analytics, but at some point, someone has to be smart. It can't be all gas, no brake. At some point, someone has to pull you aside and be like, we're not doing this. So the first one, fine, you're going to be aggressive. For some reason, being up 3 scores isn't enough for you. But with 5 and some change, being down by 3, and a kicker that makes 80% of those kicks, to sit there when your defense hasn't made a single stop all second half, and your offense has no momentum whatsoever, and you're going to sit there and go. I love him, but that is one of the worst, not the first 2, that one right there, isolated. That is one of the worst coaching decisions you will ever see.
I also thought they probably should have just kicked the field goal at the end there.
Yeah, that was like Baltimore. It's like, you save some time and kick it, because you're going to have to. You got to
get 2 scores anyway, but some of that was me having San Francisco minus 6.5.
Understand.
But I get the thinking that, hey, we're on the 1.
Yeah.
It's easier to get the 7 here.
Sure.
But I still think, save time.
If you're at the 30, this is my thing. If you're at the 25 or 30 and there's 2 minutes left, I'm all for it. Hey, kick it and save your timeouts and play. But when you're down inside the 10, I get it.
Yeah, just go for it.
But that entire second half, as I mentioned, Not a single stop from your defense. Josh Reynolds with 2 of the worst drops you'll ever see. The one on 4th down is inexcusable. The one on 3rd down was even worse. It hit him in the GD chest. Gibbs going the wrong way on a handoff and then trying to, even though he doesn't have the ball, continue to run into the line for some unknown reason. Vildor having the ball hit off his GD face mask and bounce into. Really? You're going to pull a Jose Canseco? You're going to have it bounce into his face? Jameson Williams, by the way, stopping on a route into the end zone and then picking back up and having to go right through his hands. No one's talking about that. It literally went through his hands. He looked up and saw it coming down after he had stopped the route. It went through. All he had to do was put his hands up, and that ball is caught. It's just like there was just play after play after play with the Lions, where you just sat there and was like, can one person, if any one of those plays gets made, that's a different ball game. They didn't make a single.
Believe it or not, we have more on all of this. Coming up after the Hot 5 at 5. But up next, let's get our stock watch in, what we're buying and selling from the weekend in sports.
Yeah. The home of Dirt and Spray.
I'm Dirt.
Out here just pitching a gem, huh?
He was great.
I surprised even myself. I thought for sure there was going to be some rust to knock off there.
Well, after dealing with a couple bratty kids for 12 weeks, he's probably excited to be back at work. He's gonna have to do the, oh honey, I'm so sorry to leave you, and I wish I didn't have to go back to work. Meanwhile, he's like, thank God.
You feel that way?
No.
No, you can't say it.
No. What I'm looking for is the ROP. I'm hurt, but I can't find it.
Oh. Wait, what?
I was looking for a ROP drop that I thought fit that, but I can't find it. Oh, here it is.
Oh, I'm hurt.
Anyhow, we have an all-conference championship weekend edition of...
Did anything else happen in sports this weekend at all?
Not that, as far as we're concerned.
I'm trying to think, did anything else happen?
Well,
I watched a golf tournament. Some French guy won.
The Blazers lost.
Australian Open finals and the Edmonton Oilers on the second longest winning streak in NHL history.
Okay, 16 in a row.
How about Xander not coming through for us? But
I know.
His putter sucks.
Yep. Yeah, we both took Xander 20 to 1 odds live on Friday.
We thought it was a lock.
Dumbasses.
Yeah, we were.
Could have told you that. I have no idea what happened.
Well, let's start this stock watch. Let's start the stock watch in Baltimore. Patrick Mahomes after the game and what he had to say about the team's win.
Yeah, it's special because that's a great team and a great quarterback. And Spags, it seems like when the games get bigger, when the challenges get higher, he performs even better. And the guys executed the game plan well. They got timely turnovers that played down at the goal line, punching the ball out. I think it was Snead and recovering it. That was a timely turnover, obviously. And whenever they're rolling like that, I have to kind of manage my game. That's stuff that I've learned throughout the season is even if we're not having the success that I want to have, defense is rolling and getting stops. Let's just take the safe choice, get the ball out of my hand, don't turn the ball over, and let's go win a football game.
So that's Patrick Mahomes giving a lot of credit to his team's defense. Buy or sell that the Chiefs' defense was the strongest unit of any of the 4 teams this weekend.
That, by the way, that was a good clip. That was interesting to hear him say, "Hey, man, they're playing great. I'm not going to screw this up."
They're managing me.
Yeah. That's interesting.
It's, from an all-time great to say that. Yeah, they were the best unit. I mean, I'm trying to think because, Detroit's defense was terrible in the second half. Their offense wasn't bad. You go back and look through that, they were fine in the second half. They just kept doing dumb things to turn the ball over or not getting it on fourth down. Yeah, the Chiefs' defense, hands down, was the best. In fact, as I'm sitting here kind of thinking about it, I don't even think it's close. And that has been the strength of their team all year long.
And I think that's just now starting to surprise some people. I feel like people still think of their identity as slinging around the field Patrick Mahomes, and their defense is savage.
John, it's a you can run the ball on him. They're like number 2 or 3 against the pass. They're 28th against the run. And so what did Baltimore do? They threw it 40 times and not run the ball. Go figure.
Yeah, I would buy that too. That was the story of the weekend. Spagnuolo and the Chiefs D.
Well, let's move over to the San Francisco-Detroit game. Dan Campbell, we obviously talked about his decision-making on fourth down, but I thought he had this interesting clip about whether Detroit could get back into this spot next season or in the future.
Tell those guys, this may have been all we shot. Do I think that? No. Do I believe that? No. However, I know how hard it is to get here. I'm well aware, and it's going to be twice as hard to get back to this point next year than it was this year. That's the reality. And if we don't have the same hunger and the same work, which is a whole nother thing, once we get the offseason, then we got no shot of getting back here. I don't care how much better we get or what we add or what we drive. It's irrelevant. It's going to be tough. Everybody in our division is going to be loaded back up, and you're not hiding from anybody anymore. Everybody's going to want a piece of you, and which is fine, which is fine. But so it's hard. You want to make the most of every opportunity, and we had an opportunity, and we just couldn't close it out. It does stings.
So Dan Campbell, they're essentially admitting that doing this again is going to be a much tougher task. Buy or sell that the Dan Campbell Lions will return to a conference championship game in his tenure?
The odds say no. They certainly can. The NFC is wide open. I don't see any great teams rising up in the NFC, but again, Detroit's not a great team. Detroit was a very good team. But again, it's going to get harder. We know that with success, Goff is going to play this last year. Does he want an extension? His cap hit's pretty manageable right now. I think it's in the mid-20s. Does he want to get paid? Is he willing to play this last year of the deal, or does he want an extension? You're going to lose Josh Reynolds in free agency, your second best receiver. Can Jameis Williams Jameis Williams, can he grow up into that? You were very healthy for most of the year. You didn't have a lot of season-ending injuries. I mean, it just gets hard. And history tells you that good, not great teams that make it to a conference final or make it to a Super Bowl, they don't necessarily get back. So is it possible? Sure. And by the way, Ben Johnson's going to be gone. He's going to be a head coach, whether it's in Seattle or Washington. And we're going to find out just how good this team is without their offensive coordinator, who was phenomenal this year. So, I hate to be the one to say it. And I thought he was really honest. And I appreciate it. I love everything about Dan Campbell. But if you're a betting man, do the Lions get back to this point? No, they don't. And I think that's what really stings. You could hear it in his voice. He knew this was an opportunity. This absolutely set up for them, and they played good enough to get a shot at a Super Bowl. And you think back to whether it's the Chargers or the Falcons or whoever, that wasn't great, that got to the precipice. Really hard to get back.
Yeah, I sell it. They're not good enough. Like, I mean, they're a good young team, but the best part of their team, the single best part of their team, is leaving. Yeah. And that's their offensive coordinator, Ben Johnson. That offense was legit, and that he's going to go be probably the Commanders coach, maybe the Seahawks. And I think that's going to be a huge step back for Detroit. Yeah. Not to mention, their defense isn't very good.
It's great against the run. The secondary is like,
Dude, their secondary's terrible. Yep. I don't really get the love for Aaron Glenn, so I actually, and then Dan Campbell can't get out of his own way. So they are not built to get back there. That was, they got 2 home games. The second one against I don't want to call them mediocre, but not the greatest Tampa Bay team. I don't know. I think teams like this, somebody mentioned on the text line, best example, welcome to the mid-2000s San Diego Chargers club. Yep. Lion fans. Yep. Exactly.
Well, Buffalo got to the title game, what was that, 3-4 years ago? And what did we all say? And with the team that we thought was much better.
And they're built way better than
And
Detroit.
Everyone was like, well, they'll be back. Well, you know what? They haven't been back. Getting here, and Dan Campbell realized that getting here is really freaking hard. And when you got a chance to finish it off, you got to.
I think the franchises you see that keep getting back, New England, Kansas City, San Francisco, they're built way different than Detroit. Yeah. And I get Detroit is a good young team and a good story this year, but that's not. They're a far cry from these teams that you see continually in the championship games.
Agreed.
And then finally, the play that probably turned the game and had the most people calling the 49ers lucky, the off the face mask catch by Brandon Ayuk.
The immaculate deflection is what they're calling.
Okay. Well, here's Brock Purdy, 49ers quarterback, on that play.
It was huge in that moment. We needed it to get down the field pretty quick, and we were still down, I think, 2 touchdowns. So in that moment, it was like, all right, here's a shot, here's an opportunity for BA. It was single high, safety, didn't get back or anything. He sort of stayed flat-footed, and in our offense, in that play, it's like, all right, you can, expect your receiver to get on top and trust him. And so the corner did a good job with actually staying on top and then tipped it up. BA did a great job with just tracking the ball all the way and then making a huge play for us, man. So he's a baller. That was clutch on his part.
Not necessarily more clutch on his part. It was still a nice play by Ayuk, but buy or sell that play is the indicator you need to believe that the 49ers are the team of destiny and will win the Super Bowl.
No, because I'm not betting against Kansas City. But it just goes to show you that to get back to a Super Bowl, and goes back to the last one, so many things have to break your way throughout the course of, an entire season. Injuries and just, this play, that play. I mean, one, Purdy overthrew him. It wasn't a great ball.
Airmailed it.
He overthrew him. And it goes right through his hands. The defensive back, I can't think of his name.
Valdor?
Yeah, right through his hands. And then hits him in the damn head. I mean, that's just one of those things. It just goes to show you how freaking lucky sometimes you have to be to get back. You could try to do that play. You could get the Lions and the Niners to try to recreate that and try it 50 times and not get it. And yet in this one time, it happened, and it was, it was huge. So no, they are not a team of destiny. It's just sometimes these things bounce their way. Play that way against Kansas City, and they're not winning a Super Bowl.
Yeah, I think, Buck, you're trying to talk yourself.
Well, clearly the team of destiny is the Chiefs because the NFL will profit most from Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce.
Oh, you've already started. Look at you.
I don't think the fix is in here, unlike others.
You're trying to talk yourself into the Niners being a team of destiny. Quite frankly, I've already bet the Chiefs. The Niners were dead each of the last 2 weeks.
Yep.
Green Bay had them. Detroit had them. And now this is a whole different animal with Kansas City. I love Kansas City in this game. I don't think San Francisco is a team of destiny. As a matter of fact, I think they're I don't know, there's something weird about their defense, which we'll get into.
I'm not sure they're that great.
They're right. That's what I mean. Yeah. It's like,
I am with you. I am concerned. I have a plus 275 ticket on the Niners to win the Super Bowl. I will be hedging against that because I think you're right. I think the Chiefs probably.
Yeah, I don't think they're a team. To answer your stock, I'm going to sell that. They're not a team of destiny.
Well, that does it, boys.
All right, that is your stock watch. Each, what is today? Monday at 4:15. It is brought to you by Goldberg Jones. When it comes to divorce, custody, or child support issues, trust Goldberg Jones to help. Call 1-800-DIVORCE. Phone questions answered at no charge. In the News is coming up next, but first, Buck with SportsCenter.
Now, from the
to our show. It's Monday, Rop and Souk. Get back to football, but right now it is January 29, 2024. It is time for In the News. I am your noted and humble newsman. Thank you. Thank you so much. 60 degrees out there today, JC Babes.
Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous.
How about that?
Thought I was coming back from Arizona to some more piss poor weather. No.
Nope.
It's fantastic.
Although I think it's going to get worse. It's supposed to get colder again, I think.
Awesome. Way to go.
It is Bubble Wrap Appreciation Day.
All right, go bubble wrap.
Today.
I like to, well, now we went from the small bubble wrap to now we get the big bubble wrap.
Yeah. I wonder why.
Probably just more efficient.
Cheaper.
Yeah, you know.
I don't like those. I don't like breaking those down.
No.
If you get a lot of them.
Yeah, you get a lot of them. But, you know, the big bubble wrap is easier to, it's easy to deflate than the little small ones. But it's not as fun to pop.
Well, no, I was saying I don't like breaking them down. I think it's harder because it's...
Oh, really?
Well, it's just, there's a lot of them. You know, we're talking about the ones with like, they're like the little mini pillows and they go in a line.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, I hate that.
Really?
Because you got to pop each one separately.
Oh, yeah. I just get a little, like, you know, letter opener or whatever and just pap, 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 and it's done. I think they're easier, but that's just me.
It is also Free Thinkers Day.
Oh, that's good.
Shout out to all you free thinkers out there.
Unfortunately, free thinker has just become a bunch of idiots. Like, I'm all for questioning, you know, questioning authority and all that, but my God, the amount of questioning that we're doing, we've gone to the point where we refuse to accept any sort of reality, and you can just be the biggest ignorant dumbass on the planet and be like, oh, I'm a free thinker. No, you're a moron.
I agree.
Yeah. You see it all the time where someone asks them like 2 or 3 simple questions and their response is, I don't buy into that.
Well, yeah, I'm a free thinker who does my own research. Those usually go hand in hand.
You know who is this guy that you just mentioned? Aaron Rodgers.
Yes, 100%.
Because he continually says, well, I think differently. I'm a free thinker. Well, that doesn't, I mean, even if you say and think stupid things, you're going to get criticized for it. And then you get criticized for it. And then he's like, well, you just hate free thinkers.
Yeah.
No, you just think stupid things.
Sure. I have no problem with people that think differently, but again, because you think that everything is a conspiracy and everything that the masses believe or the scientific community agrees upon, that means that it's false. My God. It's like, stop watching YouTube.
What is it about local people who make Jeopardy that we love so much?
Oh, it's kind of one of those things. Like, it's local. It could be anyone. It could be us. No, it couldn't.
Well, no, it couldn't. It's definitely not going to be me.
No.
Does it make you feel better about your community that you've got a smart person in there?
Is it any dumber? Is that any dumber than when we take pride in a local youth baseball team or whatever? It's like, our boys are going to go into the Little League World Series. Like, community pride, one of those things. It's one of us.
Portland's Mira Hayward had a lot of fun. The first time on Jeopardy, competing against fellow players and pocketing $37,000.
Tasty.
Money she put into savings, by the way.
Lame.
The second time around happened to be just as enjoyable. She returned from taping in Los Angeles with stories to tell and having missed several days of Portland's winter weather. She was down there.
That's probably the best part about it.
So she can't reveal how she did.
Yeah, you got to keep it hush hush. I saw the photo of her with Ken Jennings.
Ken Jennings, yeah.
Can I say too that, and I mean this in the most polite way. She looks like a Jeopardy contestant. She looks very smart. I'm not bagging her.
Well,
right?
I'll take it one step further. Yeah. She looks very homely.
She just looks smart. I think she spent a lot of time in books, and that's a good thing.
Her game will air February 5th at 7.
I haven't seen. What does she do? Do we know?
She's a podcaster, it says.
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
So nothing.
Go podcasting.
I don't know.
She's a Harvard graduate, though.
Yeah, she went to Catlin Gable. She went to Harvard. She is the daughter of State Senator Elizabeth Steiner.
So she comes from little upper crust money?
She is a writer with a history podcast called Noble Blood, which tells strange stories of royalty.
And that's how she makes her living? I guess we make our living playing fart sounders, so who are we to judge?
That's right.
All right. She graduated Harvard. What did I do?
Mina Hayward. A 2-time champion. She is, it's the Champions Wildcard Tournament.
I don't know what that means, but all right.
I think there's people that won, and then they bring them back.
They all come back. So she beat like an elite class. It's one thing like you get on Jeopardy and you go against like some dumbass like one of us gets through, but she beat actual smart people. She beat the champions.
Well, I think anytime you're on there, if you win, you're beating smart people.
I don't think so. I think there's people that go on that show. I've watched that show enough to know that sometimes people are on there and you can tell the difference between people that are just there to compete and people that are like, whoa, that dude's smart.
You know who's on Celebrity Jeopardy right now?
What?
One of my favorite little crushes, Katie Nolan.
Really?
They just wrapped that up. Do you want to know how she did?
Sure, because I won't watch it.
She made it to the final, but she ended up losing in the final.
To who?
Lisa Ann Walter. She's in, I think, Abbott Elementary. She's an actress.
All right.
I love Katie Nolan.
Well, who doesn't?
Yeah.
She seems delightful.
She is delightful.
And so I didn't know she was such a smarty pants.
Do they dumb down Celebrity Jeopardy?
Oh, I'm guessing they do.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
I think so.
They should.
I gotta believe that you get a slightly subdued Jeopardy board, like
you throw in some easies.
Yeah, I don't think they're doing like French poetry, right, for all of those people. I kind of want to go back and see who won Celebrity Jeopardy.
Hey, I got news on you. Well, he just told you.
No. Like of all the people that have won Celebrity Jeopardy.
My English teacher in high school one of my English teachers was on Jeopardy.
Yeah?
Yeah, and we thought that was the coolest thing ever.
And was that?
And he was the weirdest dude of all time.
But he was probably pretty sharp, huh?
Oh, dude, he was smarter. I mean, he's one of those. Yeah, I mean, we all know that guy, right?
Yeah.
A San Francisco Giants beat writer I used to work with, he went on Jeopardy, and he won 2 or 3 days, and he said the only thing he wanted going there was to make sure he didn't lose on a sports question, because he'd been a sports columnist forever, and he lost Final Jeopardy on a sports question.
Nah.
What was the question?
It was about like Olympic events, and what event was removed, and it was like the acrobatic trampoline or something. He didn't have it. I don't think any of us would have.
I'm looking here at some people that won Celebrity Jeopardy, and there might be
got some smarts.
Yeah, there's definitely some smarts on the Penn Jillette. He won.
Oh.
On there, I'm trying to think of some other notables. Astronaut Mark Kelly. Remember, he was the guy that got stalked by the other crazy astronaut. Remember that?
Nope.
The lady that drove from Texas and was peeing in her pants that wore a diaper.
Oh.
That's who she was stalking, was Matt Kelly.
Mo Rocca was on this one.
He beat Aaron Rodgers, by the way.
Yeah, Mo Rocca also made it to the final with Katie Nolan.
Rodgers.
Well,
remember Rodgers wanted to take over for Trebek? He wanted to host the thing.
Yeah. Chris Wallace, former Fox News man, he won.
Okay.
Oh, just Robin Roberts. Let's look at the
Robin Roberts.
Cheech won.
Really?
Yeah.
Cheech Marin?
Yeah, Cheech Marin. I was just looking at all the people that I'm like, oh my God, Cheech Marin? All right, go Cheech.
All right. Up next on In the News, your Eggies must now be cage-free.
What if I want my Eggies caged?
Do you know what that means?
I prefer sweatshop eggs.
That's next. It is 4:46 on The Fan.
It's time for Who's Leading the Charge? A look under the hood at the coaches, players, and teams getting it done. Brought to you by Battery Exchange.
2nd and 8 from the 9. Jackson to Flowers. He dives. The ball came out. It's recovered by Kansas City. Did the ball come out before he broke the plane? I think you're right. They're calling it a touchback and recovery on the field.
Oh, God. I think you're right. Tony Romo is the worst.
Yeah.
and I can read it all the way through. And I put the link in my notes.
Mm-hmm.
I open up the link on the show, and it's now behind a paywall.
Sometimes they allow you so many free articles, and once you click off of it and then you go back in, your free article may be up.
Well,
like the Wall Street Journal does that, Rolling Stone, Men's Health, whatever they do. This one's on us. If you want more, they give you a taste. That's how they get you hooked, Rob. They
By
give
the
you
way,
a taste, and then they demand more.
I'm always looking at the comments on the YouTube feed as well. Someone's saying that Cheech Marin beat Anderson freaking Cooper to win Celebrity Jeopardy.
Take that, Anderson Cooper. Suck it.
Have I ever told you I think Anderson Cooper is one of the most overrated newsmen?
Ooh, hot
Have I ever
take.
told you
No,
this?
I don't think you have.
I find him awful.
Really?
Yes. I think he's...
Is it because he looks like our boss?
No, he's just... I think he's terrible.
Oh, all right. I can't say I've ever thought one way or another about Anderson Cooper. He seems...
vastly overrated.
Although, when I think about Anderson Cooper, I don't necessarily think of, like, hard-hitting news.
Exactly. He's milquetoast.
He's like a great news presenter, almost like an award show presenter. He looks good, he gets the words right, but like...
He kind of doesn't, though. He stumbles a lot.
I guess I don't watch enough of him to know that.
A lot.
Yeah, I don't watch enough of him either.
Well, here's what I can tell you.
Please.
The first line of this story I can read.
Okay.
And then I have to...
Then we're hooped.
I have to unlock my 7-day free pass, which I'm not going to do.
No.
Nearly all commercial egg farms in Oregon and Washington must now keep their hens cage-free.
Really? We're ending the sweatshop eggs, huh?
Under new laws that went into effect January 1st. Yeah, how about that?
I wish there was more to that story, but...
There's nothing. I can't read anything more.
There's nothing else we can do.
Well, I can tell you this. I saw a documentary where they took identical twins.
Chickens?
No.
Oh.
Identical twin human beings.
Yeah.
And so they have the same DNA, right?
Yeah.
And they did a study, the first of its kind, where they gave one of the twins a vegan diet and the other of the twins a carnivorous diet.
Sure.
And the results I will not spoil for you because if you want to, for some reason you want to watch it, it's on Netflix. But in there, there is a chicken farmer who was talking of the horrors of farming chickens.
Yeah, those chickens are whores.
To the point where he got out of the business and he now grows mushrooms.
Oh.
But he is quoted in there as saying, he's like, hey man, these chickens, when they say cage free, man, that could mean a 3 foot by 5 foot space.
Yeah. So let me say this for the record. One, I understand that everything I eat, unless I'm killing it myself, which I don't do, unless I'm cooking up some like possum soup, I understand that every one of those conditions is horrible. Like nothing breaks my heart more than when I see the chickens or the cows stuffed into the containers, like on the road. It's all awful. But where you lose me is what this guy's saying. So you're going to say, okay, right, this is cage free. If you want to believe that you're buying your eggs from some sort of awesome farm where the chickens live in peace and harmony and are cruising around or getting treated like royalty, it's just, I don't know. I just don't think that's reality. Well, I wish
That's
it
what
was.
this guy's saying.
Exactly. That's my point is I wish this was better. I wish that it was more sustainable. I wish that the animals were treated better. I'm just not naive enough to think that when I see organic or cage free or whatever grass fed finished beef, that these animals are being treated like I treat my dog. And I just, unfortunately, the world is a crappy place sometimes. And I think when it comes to the food chain, I don't know if there's anything that's much worse.
I try to eat organic when I can. And I often think that I'm like, what? I just have to trust it, right? Like I don't know. It says organic, so I'm just going to eat it.
Again, if the
thinking that it's organic, but I don't know.
Burn says you realize the cage free means they have to be let out for like 10 minutes a day, and then you can go back in your cage. I guess that's my
that's
thing.
what he's saying.
Exactly.
This guy was a chicken farmer, and he's like, look, don't be fooled, man.
Yeah.
Cage free. I mean, that means they could be in a cage. It just has to be a little bigger.
Yeah. Or they let him out for some like the chicken can go like do some push-ups and some squat thrusts, then it goes back in the cage.
In the prison yard.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's
still a prison.
It's horrible. Like I am one Netflix documentary away from trying to be a vegetarian, which is why I don't watch any of those, because they break my heart. I can't handle it. When you see because I love pork, and every time I see like pigs, I can't, because I love pigs.
What about Porky Pig?
He's got it coming. Screw him. But like a lovable Wilbur sort of pig, I can't. I just have to take blind. I have to do blind ignorance, because I had a pork chop over the weekend, which was just dynamite. By the way, Sneaky, I'm becoming a pork chop guy at steakhouses.
Yeah?
Yeah, like every time I go to steakhouse now and I see that pork chop on the menu, it calls to me. And I'm just, I can't think about where that pork chop comes from.
My only issue is that I feel like pork chops are often one of the entrees that usually gets underperformed on by the chefs. It's they get dried out and stuff. I love doing my own pork chop. I feel like ordering a pork chop out is a little bit of a gamble.
I am on a pork chop run.
It's a gamble. That's an interesting theory.
Yeah, I'm on a heater right now. I'm like on a 4 pork chop heater, and quite frankly, I'm a right.
Chops.
Yeah, talk to me.
Treated like bastards.
Yeah. If I go to a nice steakhouse and I order the chop, is that guy in the back like, you rube? You won't know the difference.
I feel like a lot of people just throw the pork chop on the menu just to have a pork option, and so it's not necessarily treated with the same esteem as the other cuts.
I cannot think of any scenario where I would ever order the pork chop over a cut of meat.
Really?
Over a steak. No.
Well, it is a meat. It is a meat.
I know. I just mean a steak.
Yeah. I'm telling you, I'm riding high on this pork chop high, and I'm not going back. Not for a while.
I smoke a mean pork chop on the Traeger.
Buck, how about an invite over?
We should do it.
Let's talk about this. You won me at smoked pork chop. No, probably not.
Maybe though.
That's like when Schultz invites me over to his house for some sort of shindig.
Well, he did. He sent out a Super Bowl party invite.
Yeah, it's not happening. But I at least told him that.
You keep wanting him to invite you. He just did, but that one somehow doesn't count.
No, it's a no countsies. He needs to invite me on, and look, you're not going to that either. You need to invite me on a less.
Well, I don't want to go to his house.
You do.
I don't.
You've said you want to see what Schultze's got going on.
I'd watch like a Schultze Cribs.
Yeah.
I don't want to go over there.
Understand.
I mean, you don't either.
I kind of do.
I mean, I love Schultze, but I'd rather meet him for a beer.
I'm fascinated in what Schultze's home life is like. But
are you?
I am.
Why?
Because he's a fascinating little dude. I'm his wife, dynamic, and I need to know how they met, and I want to see Schultze like wooing his bride. I need to see these things. But Super Bowl party? It's asking a lot, man. That's like taking a relationship level. Like, why don't you just ask me to take you to the airport while you're at it? It's a level that we're not at yet.
All right, that's in the news for Jan 29. How about that? January 29, 2024. Coming up next, the Hot 5 at 5. We have a lot of news regarding coaching movement in the NFL, and the Chiefs lose a big one. Next on The Fan.
Hey, it's Suk wishing you a happy 2024. Started off right by joining me at Crunch Fitness. I've been a member for over 8 years.
And Souk, I'm Rob.
Saw it.
Big Souk right over there.
Right here.
Dude, saw.
Ryan Buckley is back. This is day 2 of him returning to the job. Wow! 12 weeks of paternity leave.
Must be nice.
His kid's already headed to college.
Yeah.
That's right. Enrolls next week.
Little Maze smiled for the first time I heard.
Yeah, he giggled for the first time yesterday and just started smiling a couple weeks ago.
Look at that. It's adorable.
Yeah, it is.
No one besides you cares, but for the parents.
Exactly right. It's like talking about your fantasy football lineup. Like, it matters to no one else but me.
It was a cute photo, though.
Our NFL Championship weekend waffles continue coming up here. And that's probably going to take most of the hour, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, I mean,
we've got a lot to talk about.
Hey, at least both those games turned out to be, exciting games down to the finish. They were dynamite.
They both delivered big time.
Yeah. I mean,
in very different ways.
Yeah, and both of them at one point looked like it was going to be kind of, cakewalks. And they both came down to the wire with a lot of drama.
Coming up tonight in the club, why did a man bite off his woman's nose?
Ooh, seems a bit harsh. Just saying.
Bath salts?
Oh, there you go.
No.
Crocodile?
Also, anybody else having trouble with packages? Are you not? Are packages behind?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. The ice delayed everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder when we're going to get.
You're not accepting.
I'm not happy.
You're not accepting that.
No, because I have a wine shipment that needs to get to me stat.
Yeah, I just got my watch back from the factory. It was a warranty thing, and I would say it disappeared for about 6 days, where there was no updates, no nothing. It just said delayed due to extreme weather, and then while I was in Arizona, it showed up. Yeah, it's like, hey, look at that.
Yeah, mine was supposed to be delivered on the 21st. And it is now the 29th.
Yeah. I was going to say.
I'm not happy about it.
No, and there's no updates on where it's at.
No.
It just kind of.
It's like it lost and I call them and they're like, well, we'd love you to take this brief survey, tell you how great we are.
Look,
well, I don't want to take a survey. It didn't help me.
I give the post office, UPS, whatever, carrier pigeon, I give them a lot of slack because
this is FedEx, by the way.
Yeah, whatever carrier you use.
But Amazon seems to be working fine.
Yeah, the amount of logistics that it takes when you like my gym, my jiu-jitsu gym is right by it's not a post office, it's like a postal, I don't know, like a postal center, like where they're processing all the packages, so they've got like 40 trucks lined up. So and the door's always up and they just move. The amount of just chaos that I see there on a day-to-day basis, it blows my mind that any package gets anywhere. And it's just a big bin. Like if you want to go drop stuff off, you can just, they're like, yeah, throw it in that bin. I throw it in there and I just trust that 4 days later, that gets where it's going anywhere in the country. Blows my mind. So I give them a little leeway because I just feel like when you are dropping off your package, I feel like you should have about a 15% chance of that getting anywhere. And yet 98% of the time, it gets where it's going.
Yeah, I tend to agree, except at this point, it's been too long.
It's right out.
The ice was a long time ago.
Let it go. Come on.
Let's figure it out.
Yeah. Pick it up, FedEx.
Anyway, Club 1080 tonight, 6 to 7. Right now, the hot, very hot 5 at 5.
Oh! Hot topics, hot opinions.
Oh, golly, I'm hot today.
And hot air. It's time for the Hot 5 at 5.
That's hot.
The Hot 5 at 5 on Primetime with Isaac and Souk.
No, I mean it. That's very hot.
The Hot 5 at 5 with Isaac and Souk. Brought to you on The Fan by Victor Rico's Mexican Food, the most popular burrito spot in Oregon. Online at victorricos.com. Number 5.
Well, our Ducks will be on the road in Los Angeles this week. ESPN Thursday night at USC, ESPN2 Saturday night at UCLA. The Duckies, I'm talking about men's basketball here. They are tied atop the Pac-12 with Arizona at 6-3. Meanwhile, the Beavers.
Big weekend for the Beavs.
Big weekend for the Beavs. The women's basketball team jumped to number 18 in this week's rankings as they took out number 3, Colorado, And number 16, Utah, this past weekend.
Yeah, and your Beavs, the Tinklers, they're like in last place. They're terrible, but they did beat Arizona State. So,
well, they beat Arizona too.
Yeah, big weekend for the Beavs.
Big little buzzer beater.
Yeah, knocked off the number 1 and like the number 4 team in the Pac-12. It's the Pac-12.
Gill Coliseum.
Yeah,
going nuts. So
it's that time of year where. Right now, on the live sports that are available to me right now to watch, I've got LSU, Mississippi State. I have a NASCAR thing, rodeo, and Howard versus Copen State. Those are the live sports.
Coppin. Like copping a field.
I don't even know what to choose at this point.
We got to get into basketball now.
I can watch a replay of the Niners Lions.
Hey, pitchers and catchers soon.
I'm taking rodeo. I'm going to see what the rodeo's got going on.
Well, the Blazers take on the Sixers tonight. No Joel Embiid.
No.
He is out.
Well, and 2, he's only like 4 or 5 games away from being ineligible for any postseason awards.
Wait, what?
Yeah, the NBA. The NBA has the.
They made the new rule, essentially trying to avoid all the load management. You have to play 65 games?
65 games, and I think Embiid now is down to. He's got 4 or 5 games left that he can miss, and then he's ineligible for MVP, All NBA, all that stuff.
So we're trying hard to get him an MVP. Is that right?
Well, he already got one.
Oh, he did?
He was MVP last year.
Oh, I thought it was Jokic.
No, he got one amid the whole Jokic is white and we need to stop giving it to him.
Yeah,
thing.
Jokic won 2 in a row, and then like Kendrick Perkins and a bunch of people were angry because a white guy was going to win it for a 3rd year in a row. And Embiid had a great year, and so Embiid's already got one, but he's having a hell of a year. But it's just it'll be interesting to see if someone really gets not really he is probably going to get left off because he's banged up all the time.
Yeah. I don't know. I just think the NBA MVP is funny because it should be the same guy every year. Like, the best player in the league, for 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, but they don't do that.
Right. Yeah. But so then what they try to do is try really hard to give it to someone else.
Yes.
And they usually do a pretty good job of that.
Yeah.
Kind of an interesting. Eagles are hiring Kellen Moore to be their 3rd offensive coordinator in 3 years.
I know. Isn't that weird? It's like you're rolling through guys. Although we talked about it. The coordinator thing in the NFL, no one stays more than 2 or 3 years. Either you suck and get fired or you move on to a head coaching job.
He will pair with Vic Fangio on the defensive side.
You know what, seemingly, though, if you're the Eagles and you're looking to rebound, that's a nice little...
Good little staff.
It's a good little path there.
Good little staff.
Embiid, by the way, 3rd best odds to win the MVP right now.
Behind who?
Joker and SGA.
Oh. That'd be a nice little MVP.
They're having a hell of a year.
Did you see Detroit beat them the other night?
Yeah, the Pistons of all people. What?
Damn that NBA. The Chargers have a new general manager to pair with Jim Harbaugh. At least it seems they're in the final stages of locking up a guy from the Ravens.
Yeah, he's their player director of
player personnel.
And I guess he's been with them since like '98. He's been with them forever.
I love the fact that Harbaugh is in the NFL and is already pissing in his brother's Cheerios by stealing.
No kidding. I didn't really think of that.
His guy.
This guy's name is Joe Hortiz.
Yeah.
Hortiz.
And I guess he's got a very good reputation, and I'm sure John is thrilled about his brother coming in and taking his personnel guy.
Yeah, he's only 48, but he's been with the Ravens for 26 years.
Yeah. Well, again, great organizations manage to keep the good people.
God.
Too far together. Stop now.
We also have the Seahawks setting up to interview Ravens defensive coordinator Mike McDonald this week.
It feels like it's a foregone conclusion that the 2 openings in Washington and Seattle, they're going to be filled by McDonald and Ben Johnson. It's just a matter of who goes where.
Sounds like the Commanders are all systems go with Ben Johnson.
Yes.
And have been for quite some time, but we'll have to wait and see how that plays out. And number 1, the Kansas City Chiefs are headed to the Super Bowl again. However, they have lost defensive end Charles Omenihu, torn ACL.
Yeah, when we saw them go down, and he went off and was trying to move around on it, and he obviously didn't come back in the game. But I didn't see anyone that was thinking it was that serious. But just goes to show you, not every ACL is like roll around on the ground and, it's the worst thing ever. But that's a big loss. It's a big loss for them.
Well, and Gay didn't play. I don't know if I don't know what his deal is.
He had a neck thing.
Is he coming back?
I don't know. So he obviously missed that game with the neck. But, the Super Bowl, you do get 2 weeks off. So we'll see what happens.
You know what, Jace? We will see what happens.
Look, but you get to this point of the year and health matters. difference in these sorts of games. Debo playing in that game against the Lions. Debo made a couple big plays before the Ayuk, immaculate deflection. So, Debo made a difference in that game, and he'll have another week to get rested up. So, you just want to see both teams, to me, at full speed. I hate when injuries play a big role. Like when Kansas City played the Buccaneers, they were without their 2 tackles, and that was the difference in that football game. They couldn't do anything. So I just want everyone healthy. And also, too, with Joe Thuney, he missed that game with a pec injury. And again, I don't know what his status, if he's going to be able to play or if that's a season-ending sort of thing. So just something to keep an eye on is that injury report, because it absolutely can tilt the game this close.
Victor Rico's Mexican Food, the most popular burrito spot in Oregon. Order now at victorricos.com. Up next, we get back to our NFL Championship Weekend waffles. What John Harbaugh had to say about the lack of a run game. That's next on The Fan.
Duck fans, that was close.
When I think of Oregon, I think of innovation, and we're ahead of the curve. We've got a plan. We've got great support. If there's something I need, I can go ask for it.
But the Bama Hammer strikes close to home.
It was the allure of Alabama for Kalen DeBoer. Kalen DeBoer is a guy
Because he has breaking news.
That's right.
This is breaking news.
You thought we were going straight NFL. I say nay.
Baseball.
Somewhere.
Give me some.
Do you think Schulte is losing his mind over this?
I'm sure he hates it, yes. He doesn't like anything the Mariners do.
Yeah, the Mariners are making a deal with the Minnesota Twins to get their second baseman. They're getting Jorge Polanco.
Nice.
And they are giving up, right-handers Anthony DeSclafani?
DeSclafani.
They just got him.
Yeah.
Justin Tapa and some prospects and some cash.
All right.
Believed involved. So a 4-player deal and some cash, and the Mariners get their second baseman.
Okay. Polanco, if you're wondering, he is 30. Last year, 255, 14 dingers, 48 ribs.
Okay.
A couple years ago, he hit 33 bombs, almost drove in a Hyundai. 269.
Right.
He's never healthy.
He's
That's the thing.
He's under contract for one more year in Seattle, so we'll see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there you go. There's some breaking baseball news for you. Schulte wanted the Mariners to do something. Well, there you go.
Jorge Polanco.
You got Polanco.
Okay. Yeah. John Harbaugh. So I was looking last night for two things after the games, right? Mm-hmm. One was what Dan Campbell said about going for it on fourth down.
And I thought Campbell was very honest.
Yeah, you want to hear that?
Yeah,
we have that here.
We get some man Campbell on here.
I just felt really good about us converting and getting our momentum and not letting them play long ball. You know, they were bleeding the clock out. That's what they do. And I wanted to get the upper hand back. And it's easy hindsight, and I get it, you know, I get that. But I don't regret those decisions. And that's hard because, you know, we didn't come through. It wasn't able to work out, but I don't. And I understand the scrutiny I'll get. That's part of the gig, man. But it just didn't work out.
It's the only thing I'll say to defend Dan Campbell. First off, the fourth down decision in the first half was the correct one. Go up by 3 scores. The one in the second half, the first one, I don't understand because the same logic, you could have gone up by 3 scores again. San Francisco kicked a field goal, you're down, you kick a field goal, you're back up by 3 scores, 7 minutes to play in the third quarter. Going to that last one, I find that one to be inexcusable. That's the one that I have a problem with. Everyone should have a problem with. To me, it's almost unconscionable to think that with whatever it is, 5.5 minutes, 6 minutes, whatever it was, right around there, you got an 80+% chance to tie the game and you go for it. It's mind-numbingly stupid in my opinion, and I love Dan Campbell. But I guess if you want to look at it from Campbell's way, and you can hear it in his voice how painful that was, you hadn't stopped the Niners all the second half. The Niners had the ball 5 times, they scored 5 times. Your defense had done nothing against him. And he mentioned them bleeding the clock, and they were running the ball really well. It is the only thing I can say that if you're Dan Campbell and you're sitting there, I'll look up, but I believe it was under 6 minutes. I got to go back and look and see exactly where that's at when they did that. But if you're Dan Campbell and you think to yourself, hey, we kick this field goal and we tie the game and we kick it to them and it's a tie game, they take a 6-minute drive down, ball game. They either kick a field goal and win, or God forbid they punch it in with 1.5 minutes left, and our ball games and it's over. And maybe that's the only explanation I can think in his mind where he says, he said, I got to get back ahead. I can't let them just bleed the clock. That's the only reasonable explanation I can possibly think of, and maybe that's what he was thinking.
It's possible. The other thing, too, is he maybe didn't have that much faith in his kicker.
Yeah, but he was making, I think from that distance, they said he was like 82%. By the way, it was 7 minutes.
Maybe Dan doesn't like kickers.
7 and some change when they didn't get that. So a little more than I thought. But still, the idea of San Francisco taking and going on a 6-minute drive and that you hadn't stopped them all half. And by the way, they did take that and go 7 plays, 70 yards and bleed 5 minutes off the clock when they went down and scored. So, you know, maybe it isn't as dumb as it appeared to go for it on fourth down, even though it's that dumb.
It was. Tie it up, dude.
It's unbelievable.
Tie it up.
The first one, I get it, but God, that second one, how do you do that?
Your defense, okay, yeah, she may be thinking that, well, they're just going to bleed us down, but I mean, it doesn't matter what you do. Your defense has to step up.
Yeah.
For one more. I mean, they have to get you the ball back because the game's tied.
Yep.
Right? So you need them either way. Yeah. So why go down 10? Why wouldn't you rather be down 7? Makes no sense. Anyway, I was looking for that, and that popped right into the old Twitter timeline. Okay, that was easy to find.
Sure.
I still cannot find much of any of John Harbaugh's post-game comments.
Because I find the Ravens, like the Lions one obviously is just like, wow, like a second half collapse. Not one player or coach in the entire second half made a single play for the Lions. And if any of them do, that game turns out differently. Monumental collapse. The Baltimore one, I too am waiting for some sort of explanation on how the number 1 rush team in the NFL against the number 28 rush defense and like the number 4 pass defense, and they ran the ball 6 GD times. 6 times that they actually ran the ball to a running back. And I think Lamar had 2 or 3 designed quarterback runs. I've never seen anything like it. And the only drive they put together, and they scored early in the game on their second possession, was based on what? Running the football. And it wasn't like Kansas City took it away. Baltimore just decided to not run. Baltimore on first and second down all year had run the ball run the ball or play action on about 70% of their plays. It was their bread and butter. It was what their offense was predicated upon. And they went away from that. They did it to the tune of less than, I think it was like 24% in the first half. Like they just refused to run the ball or even make an attempt to run the ball. I don't get it.
So I couldn't really find many of his. I didn't find any of his clips other than there was a lot of stuff going around about how he opened his post-game press conference with scripture. And everyone was making fun of him for that. But so I finally found a quote of when they asked him about running the ball, and all he said was it was that type of game. That's the only thing he said.
But it wasn't that type of game. I get it. Like San Francisco ran the ball 30, I think it was like 34, 35 times, and they averaged less than 3 yards a carry. But they absolutely knew that they had to run the ball and play action pass in order to, and this was, by the way, when they were down by 17 points, and they still didn't abandon the run, even though it wasn't going super effective. Kansas City did that. Kansas City ran the ball and didn't have great success doing it, but they ran the ball because they knew that they had to keep it honest. They couldn't just sit there and allow the Ravens to tee off on them. And that you look at Baltimore, again, the best run team in the NFL. Lamar had 8 carries, and like I said, 2 or 3 of those were designed. The rest of those were scrambles. Gus Edwards ran it 3 times for 20 yards, and Hill ran it 3 times for 3. And I think they did 1 or 2 end rounds to Zay Flowers. I've never seen anything like it. The only weakness that Kansas City's defense has is their run defense, which is why I thought this Baltimore game was a really bad matchup for the Kansas City Chiefs. Little did we know that Monken and Harbaugh would get together and be like, let's not do the one thing on offense that we're really good at.
Couple things.
I've never seen anything like it.
One, I looked at the 7:05 mark of the third quarter.
Yeah.
I went to the stat sheet, and I saw the Ravens at that point, 7:05 third quarter.
Yeah.
You realize how many plays they had run?
How many?
25.
What are we doing?
I mean, that is so incredibly low. Now they got more plays as the game went on because their defense kept getting them the ball back.
Yes.
And they had a couple of drives that they screwed up with turnovers in the end zone.
And that's the thing, as bad as Kansas,
for a lot of all I'm saying is for a lot of that game, I mean, there's no defense to not running the ball, but for a lot of that game, they just did not have drives. They didn't run any plays.
But when you do have the ball and you are trying to drive, wouldn't you want to do, especially on early downs, wouldn't you want to do what's made you the number 1 rushing offense in the NFL? I can't tell you how many, we just talked about it. Over 70% of the time on first and second down, Lamar Jackson threw the ball. Like, what are we?
Yeah, it's weird.
And by the way, Kansas City secondary is fantastic, and there was no one open, and Lamar looked like crap all game long. It's just...
Here's another thing.
So when Harbaugh says it was that kind of game, God, I wish I was in that press conference to raise my hand and be like, I'm going to need you to actually explain what that kind of game means, because it's one thing if your quarterback's on a heater and you're like, hey, man, we're riding the hot hand. But when Lamar out there playing whatever the hell that was, his worst game of the year, you would think that to settle your quarterback down and to get your offense going and give your defense a chance to breathe, because the defense was getting sliced and diced in the first half, Kansas City was getting whatever they wanted. You would think that running the ball would at least give your defense a time to take a breath and take some of the pressure off Lamar and be able to work some of the play action pass and get some easy completions and some easy runs for him going like you did on the one touchdown drive you had, but they didn't. And Kansas City wasn't doing anything to take it away. They just didn't attempt it.
Yeah, they were just, maybe he's saying that, we were behind that type of game. I don't know.
It almost reminds me of the let Russ cook crap when Seattle would be like, well, we want Russ to be the star. Were you out trying to prove a point that Lamar was, can beat you with his arm and that he's our MVP?
Was he, and there's the other element of that is Lamar kind of over, was he trying to make too many plays?
Boy, he held on to the ball
a lot. That's another one. Even without handing the ball to running backs, I'm not sure why he didn't tuck it and run more.
That's what I was expecting. I thought a lot of those times that he was delayed and hanging on as he was letting the secondary clear out down the field and give him some space to operate, and then he didn't go.
Yeah, it's funny that the one guy we're talking about making such a difference with his legs today is Brock Purdy.
Yes.
Not Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
So weird. Because it's just an indefensible play when everything breaks down and Purdy scrambled. How many times did he do that?
He killed
Detroit.
Killed him.
Lamar can do that every play, it seems like.
Yes.
And he doesn't.
And even the one,
or at least in this instance, didn't.
And he just looks so, and I hate to do this because, like I said, I think Lamar gets a lot of bashing, and I just think sometimes it's unfair. And but playoff Lamar, it's a real thing. That is as bad as you can play as an MVP. And even with that, the defense up until that last last drive there where Kansas City closed them out there with the big pass to Valdez-Scantling, the Baltimore defense held Kansas City, I believe, to 76 yards in the second half. The defense was playing lights out. Kansas City did nothing on offense, and they were just desperate for someone in Baltimore to make a play. And not only were they not making plays, they were shooting themselves in the foot with the stupid Zay Flowers, the penalties, the Zay Flowers fumble, and then Lamar Jackson with as bad an interception as you'll see this side of Jordan Love. I said last week Jordan Love threw it into a defensive meeting. Lamar Jackson did the same thing. Like, what are you doing?
Well, that's the other thing, too, that's wild about the Baltimore game is their defense played so good that the Ravens still could have won that game.
Yes.
All these things taken into consideration, basically they just turned it over twice in the end zone, and that's it.
Yeah.
You could boil it right down to that. They still had a chance down the stretch. And I thought Harbaugh, I mentioned this earlier, worth repeating if you missed our first hour on this, but I thought Harbaugh calling that timeout at about 2:18 was really dumb.
Yeah.
Because what it allowed Kansas City to do is if he had kept that timeout in his hip pocket and just let it bleed down to the 2-minute warning, most likely Kansas City's going to run the ball coming out of the 2-minute warning to try to get you to call that last timeout. They want to get that out of your pocket, right? Yep. So they're just going to run it. You call it, stop the clock. Easier to defend. Maybe at that point you get a punt. It was, I think, 3rd and 9, wasn't it? Or something like that.
Yep.
You can get the ball back. But Harbaugh called the timeout, and that allowed Kansas City to be like, well, hell, we'll just throw it because we got the 2-minute warning clock stoppage anyway.
Yep.
Let's So I thought that was really dumb.
Yeah, it was puzzling. Yeah, I remember sitting there because you're right in that at that point, if Kansas City, there was no negative to throwing the ball because the clock was going to stop either way at the 2-minute warning. So that was one of those. I think looking back in hindsight, it'll be wonky. And I wanted to look this up, but on the first touchdown drive that they had, Baltimore did their only touchdown drive all game. That was the one where again on the short yardage on the 4th and 1 where they actually ran Lamar Jackson on a design quarterback run. He got 21 yards out of that, and Gus Edwards had a 15-yard run. And after that drive, they stopped running the ball. You had a 21-yard and a 15-yard carry on that same drive, and they never attempted to go back and get their run game going after that. Todd Monken needs to explain that. John Harbaugh needs to explain that, because it's easy to go back and say that, Zay Flowers, who just, that's about as bad a game as you can have and Lamar stuff. But you said it, as bad as they played, they were still in that game. And it's just, it's I'm not sure which one is the bigger choke job, Detroit melting down in the second half or Baltimore. I tend to lean towards Baltimore because how do you show up in that environment with an MVP and that run game and that offense and not show up for 4 quarters? And then have the 8 penalties, 4 of them personal fouls.
It's definitely Baltimore because they were a better team on paper. And they just played. They played terrible. The Lions played great, but the reality is the Lions aren't that great.
Yeah,
so it's like to see the Lions gag that is not that shocking. To watch how the Ravens continually shot themselves in the foot was shocking for as good as they've been this year.
Yep.
That was, I think, a bigger shocker.
And they're usually under Harbaugh such a disciplined team and such a team that is up for the big moments and stuff like that. They looked like almost like playoff rookies, Yep.
And a buddy of mine's a big Ravens fan, and he was watching. He couldn't believe his eyes, and he just basically said, "It looks to me like this moment is too big for them."
Yeah.
They were melting down with penalties. Lamar's throwing his helmet. Zay Flowers cutting up his hand. Yep. It's just like, dude, calm down. Watch the Niners. You want to see how the Niners handle that?
Yep.
The Niners you want to talk about pucker factor. They were down worse.
Yeah.
They were down 17.
And they came out and
there was no panic. There was none of that crap.
Nope.
It was, I don't know, man. It's just, I think that says a lot. The way the Niners handled it, and they're a little bit more experienced, but the way the Niners handled adversity versus the way the Ravens did.
One team's in the Super Bowl and one team's going home.
Yeah, what people asked Kyle Shanahan what happened at halftime, or what he said, I simply told the guys, we're not going out like this. Yeah. We're just not going to. We're not that team. We're not those guys.
All right. Let's wrap up Niners, Lions next. You want to do that?
Yeah.
My guy Brock Purdy going to the Super Bowl.
Which no one will ever give him any credit for.
Here is Buck with Sports Center.
Now, from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
Brought to you by Reynolds Defense Firm. If you've been arrested for DUI, you need a team of attorneys that you can put your trust into. Call Reynolds Defense Firm today, online at reynoldsdefensefirm.com. First on the Fan, Super Bowl 58 is set. This year's game will feature the Kansas City Chiefs and the San Francisco 49ers battling it out for the Lombardi Trophy in Las Vegas. The Chiefs dominated the defensive side of the ball to stop Baltimore, while San Francisco needed to erase a 17-point deficit to advance past the Lions. 49ers opened as 3-point favorites in the Super Bowl. That line has been bet down to 1.5 or even 1 at some books. And Kansas City will be without pass rusher Charles Omenihu in the game, as reports indicate he tore his ACL in Sunday's victory. Meanwhile, in the coaching carousel, the Seahawks will interview a pair of assistants whose teams were eliminated on Sunday. They'll talk to Lions OC Ben Johnson and Ravens DC Mike McDonald. Meanwhile, some trade news for the Seattle Mariners, as they have sent 4 players and cash considerations to Minnesota in exchange for Jorge Polanco, shoring up their second base position. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Ryan Buckley from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk. The pro football playoffs are here. Watch and wager on every game at Spirit Mountain Casino. Visit spiritmountain.com.
It's The Fan on
Yeah.
They are. I think they're up to 7.
Yeah, right there. They got the big white guy, Filipowski.
Nothing says Duke like a big white guy.
Yeah, right. Well, I was not aware
Maybe
that
a scrappy white guy.
There you go.
Travis Kelce, most postseason catches of all time.
Broke Jerry Rice's record.
I didn't know he had a shot at it until right before the game, and that's remarkable because most of Rice's records seem totally unassailable.
Yeah, that snuck up on me. I was like, wait, what?
Again, you can hate him, but at this point, if you try to slander Kelce or Mahomes in any way, you're just a jackass. You just hate him. I get the overexposure thing, and I give Kelce a lot of credit because this was not a great year for him. He's showing his age. He was nowhere near the same player. He had a case of the dropsies, hasn't been very effective blocking. Just a down year for him. And he took that week off, the last week when he had a chance to go over 1,000 yards again and get some incentives and set a record. And he rested that final week of the season, and he has come back in these postseason playoffs, and he looks like the Travis Kelce of old. And for an offense which wasn't that great this year, having Travis Kelce be the old Travis Kelce, that's been the difference in these games. I mean, he went 11 for 11. They threw the ball to him 11 times in the first half, and he caught 11, including the only touchdown that Kyle Hamilton has given up to a tight end all year on just a spectacular back shoulder throw that. And that's not something that is planned. That's just those two guys that have been doing it for all those years together. It's indefensible. It's a freaking crane kick of the NFL. And, hate Taylor Swift all you want. This is the old Kelce right now, and they're whooping people's asses.
Well, I don't hate Taylor Swift, and I don't hate Travis Kelce.
Yeah.
And I don't hate Patrick Mahomes.
I'm over the two of them, but I can appreciate greatness. And I thought Lamar could be the guy to save us. It's not, and so now please save us Brock Purdy.
Dude, how great was Purdy in the second half? I mean, that guy, he was legit.
I want to know at what point can these dumbass talking heads on ESPN, when can you stop moving the goalposts? Right? So last year he is a fluke and is a 7th round pick and he can't stay healthy and he's only good because of, the Niners and he's checked down Charlie. This year he comes out and through 13 to 14 weeks of the season, he's the MVP. He has the best deep ball numbers in the NFL. And all we hear after the Ravens game is he can't win a big one. See, he's still a product of the system, and against better teams, he sucks. They can't come from behind. He only is good with playing with the lead in the run game. And all he does is come out in the postseason and lead a fourth quarter comeback in a driving rainstorm. And we hear, well, it was just one drive and he still wasn't that good. And look at the rest of the game. And so we come out here in this game against Detroit and he's flawless in the second half, leads a 17-point comeback. And again, now we're going to say that we're moving the goalposts again and that it's still not Brock Purdy getting any credit. Like, how many times can he do what you say that he needs to do in order to be considered an elite or a great quarterback for you to then turn around and say that he's still not there? I don't know what you want from him at this point. He's not Pat Mahomes. I get it. He's not Josh Allen.
And he's not going to be. That's why he was in college for 4 years and picked in the 7th round.
But you know what the difference between him and Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen and Justin Herbert? Who's here right now? He's still playing.
The guy who doesn't make that many mistakes and uses his weapons. Yeah.
I mean, I just don't know what you want from the guy. I'm hoping that Brock does this, but I feel like even if he beats Patrick Mahomes, we're still going to find a way to shortchange him.
No, it was all the other players who did it.
But I want him to do it. I'm rooting for Brock Purdy. I was rooting for the Lions. I thought it was an unbelievable story. I'm heartbroken for Man Campbell. I loved that team. But
did you just call him Man Campbell?
He's Man Campbell.
And on the way up, we're going to bite a kneecap off.
But, Detroit, I don't know if you're getting back there. San Francisco has been there before. Last year, they got shortchanged with the injury bug. They seem to be relatively healthy now, and they get a chance to right a wrong when they lost to Kansas City on a overthrow by Jimmy Garoppolo.
Well, I would say this. I think you're right in this instance that Purdy. If you look each of the last 2 weeks, the Niners were pretty much. I mean, they
were dead.
They were beaten. Yep. Green Bay should have beat them.
Yep.
And so should have Detroit. But, if any other quarterback administers the game-winning drive against Green Bay or the go-ahead score against Green Bay,
yeah,
and then that second half against Detroit, particularly the way he ran the ball, if that's Mahomes or Jackson,
what are we saying?
Like, we're lauding
that
player.
We wouldn't shut up about it.
But Purdy, he doesn't – I don't know. I guess it's just that he's Mr. Irrelevant. He went to Iowa State. shouldn't be here.
Nope, we're just
not. More Shanahan and McCaffrey. And
we're just not going to.
But he played great.
Who would have thought that the most effective runner of the ball at the quarterback position would be Brock Purdy and not Lamar Jackson?
So who's the bigger bonehead, Zay Flowers or C.J. Gardner-Johnson, who was waving goodbye?
Ooh, tough choice.
Yeah.
C.J. Gardner-Johnson was waving. He's a DB for the Lions.
And
he was waving goodbye to the Niner fans in the first half.
And he was the guy that got into a pissy match with Deebo Samuel.
He tried to throw a cheap shot block on the Purdy pick too.
Yeah. He's a what would you say? He's a guy that plays with an edge.
He's the one that
He's Dylan Brooks.
Yeah, he's Dylan Brooks. And you look like an absolute ass clown when you're waving goodbye, and then you are at the end of the game.
I got to go Flowers on that one though. I thought that sequence with Flowers was really
the
bad.
taunting followed by the huge gaff yourself, coughing the ball up
against the very guy,
and then breaking
against the guy you taunted. It was poetic. It was perfect.
Or he didn't break it, but
sliced your hand up.
And he sliced his hand, pounding the. I mean, these guys
punching the bench. Well, and for a guy like Zay Flowers, who's so young, and he really is their best offensive weapon. Not in the run game. It just sucks because he had a great rookie year and he could have been a difference maker in that game. I mean, they scored that touchdown and boy, I'll tell you what, that's a hell of a game coming down the stretch if they score that. Because even after that, if Lamar doesn't throw the pick, like Baltimore had so many opportunities. That's still, I will not be able to get over that game for a while. That'll be an all-timer for me. Like I understand what happened in the Detroit game, right? I do. I get it. Detroit just didn't make any plays. But I can point to 4 or 5. Actually, I can point to about 7 of them. Like just make one play. But the Baltimore one, that will be the Minnesota Vikings versus the Atlanta Falcons all those years ago when the Vikings were just crushing everyone, the best team in the NFL, and they lost to Chris Chandler and the Atlanta Falcons. It'll be that level where I scratch my head and just each time I think about the game, there's a new one that I'm like, huh? Like, I want to hear from Lamar, like what he was doing in that last pass. I brought up the lack of run game. They ran power on that touchdown drive. That was the Lamar Jackson quarterback run that went for 20 plus yards and the Gus Jackson. Those were both just little power plays. One was an over tackle quarterback power and the other one was just straight power. It's like every offense in America. Like if you played little kid football, you ran power. There's a little pulling guard. They ran that play twice for 21 and 15 yards. Would you care to guess how many times they ran that play the rest of the game?
Zero.
Coaching malpractice.
I know I'm an offensive lineman, and I try not to get into just it's about the O-line and it's about the run game, because that's like this knuckle-dragging thing. But if I told you that you ran a pass play, like your bread and butter pass play, and it went for 21 and 15 yards in the first quarter, and then you never ran that pass play again, wouldn't someone look at Kyle Shanahan or Andy Reid and be like, hey, the hell are you doing?
Opening up the playbook, baby. That's what I'm doing.
I would love to know. I really would, and no one will ever be honest. Were they really trying to make Lamar Jackson the star of that game? This will be a Russell Wilson. Why did you throw the ball down there? And to this day, there are people that believe that they wanted Russ to be the star. And I just, if you are determined to prove that you're better than Pat Mahomes and that you can win throwing the ball and that you're the MVP because you're a true throwing quarterback and not just an athlete, what a dumbass time to try to prove that in the AFC title game against one of the worst rush defenses in the NFL.
All right, we'll be back to wrap it up after this on The Fan.
It's time for a Ducks Report, the inside story on Oregon athletics. Brought to you by Mods PDX. The future of building is here.
So I don't know if you boys heard, but over the weekend, some news that had been brewing finally came home to roost. The Ducks pick up UW transfer cornerback Jabbar Muhammad, a lockdown.
Yeah, it's weird because he put together a highlight clip on Twitter that he released, and that Duck fan was like going like crazy over. Like half of those were against Oregon. Yeah, he does the little square box and then puts his thumbs down. He's a hell of a guy. And by the way, he transferred from Oklahoma State, so he's only at UW for 1 year. But boy, it's weird to see a UW guy making all those plays and then Oregon being like, yeah, but he's a hell of a corner.
And he picked the Ducks over Texas. He's from the state of Texas.
Yeah.
Ducks are loading up, man.
Yeah, their secondary got a lot better.
Mods PDX, the future of building is here.
Yeah.
The home of Dirt and Spray.
I'm Dirt.
This is the only reason I would care enough to watch games is to see how he develops and how he plays in certain moments. And I get that he's going to have his clunker nights. He's 19 years old, and I understand that. He's had a lot of them this year. He was terrific, and to not have him on the floor, handling the ball late in the game, learning valuable lessons that he could lean on, it was driving me nuts at home.
Dirt and Spray. Weekdays 6 to 9 a.m. on 1080 The Fan.
When looking for new construction, you want to make your dreams come alive. You want innovation and sustainability that knows no bounds. You want to work with masters of their craft. You want Mods PDX. Mods PDX works with homebuyers, architects, and developers to create beautiful, sustainable, and energy-efficient buildings of the highest quality. With our modular approach, your project will be completed sooner than traditional construction, creating a faster return on investment. Work with a team that is focused on collaboration, innovation, and creativity to create your dream. Go to modspdx.com to start your project today.
Hey, it's Suk here for the Crunch Fitness Minute, and I've got Steve from Crunch with me, and this is a question that I get asked all the time, and I'm going to turn around and ask it to this guy. Supplements. There's so many of them out there. Where do you stand on supplements?
At Crunch, we decided to go with a brand called .Fit. The reason why is .Fit is a supplement company that's done by Neil Spruce, and Neil is well known in our business. And the reason why we chose them is because they're third-party tested. What that means is that what you see on the label is actually in the bottle. I could talk about many companies have gotten lawsuits against them because they put fillers in.
He has already won more playoff games in the NFL. He's only been in the league, 6 years?
Yeah.
I mean, he had that 7th year, but he barely played.
Yeah.
He already has more playoff wins than his entire career at Texas Tech.
Well, Texas Tech, they weren't. That's the weird thing about him, too. And you can say this about a lot of guys, but he was just the dude at Texas Tech. Obviously, someone thought something. And Mandy Reid moved up, and supposedly Sean Payton loved him, but no one talked about Patrick Mahomes like he was going to be even a generational talent. Didn't even think necessarily he was going to be a franchise quarterback. And yet here we are 7 years later, and some people are already calling him the best to ever do it.
You see his numbers the last two postseasons? 11 touchdowns, no picks, 6-0.
Well, his postseason in general. So he's played 16 or 17 postseason games already. So basically an entire season. And his numbers, I'll pull them up. I saved it. His numbers in that season, if you just were to extrapolate that out, so 17 games. So he's 14-3. 67.4 win percentage there. He's thrown for 4,800 yards. He's rushed for 458 yards. He has 39 passing TDs, 5 rushing TDs, and only 7 picks. Imagine if that was one season, which essentially it is, against the very best teams. No cupcakes in there. 14-3, 4,800 yards, 500 yards rushing, 39 and 5. I mean,
I think it's awesome.
That's stupid.
What's awesome too is it's not just the same. It's different every year.
Yeah.
Like this year is a much different. He went on the road, 1st of all, one at Buffalo, Josh Allen, one at Baltimore, Lamar Jackson. He's doing it differently. It's like he can now, he's showing, okay, you want me to, or, you've got a problem with me? I'll just go win on the road. Okay, I can't win this way. Well, watch me. I'm going to win this way.
Yeah.
He just keeps getting better, and he never turns the ball over.
Nope.
He's just, dude, he is unbelievable. Yep. He really is. He's he's the best quarterback I've ever seen.
I don't have an argument with that. Like I said,
that dude playing the position is as good as it gets.
All that stuff, is up for interpretation. To me, Brady's records and his numbers, I mean, God, you're not even close to that. So, let's wait. He's just entering his prime now. I mean, he's got 12 more years of doing this. So, let's just give it time. Brady was so good. And remember, Brady went 10 years in between winning Super Bowls. So even if Mahomes wins this one and doesn't win another one for years and years, it's like you can't come back and win more. But I agree that where I'll go with this is there's never been a start to a career like this. It's the best 6 seasons to start a career that I've ever seen. No one has come into the league and wrecked it the way he has. And if I were to create a quarterback in a lab, like with Brady, there's obviously things or Manning or whatever that you could point to and say, hey, I wish they did this better. I don't know what you would want to nitpick Patrick Mahomes. Pre-snap, phenomenal. Never gets fooled, doesn't put his team in bad situations. Like you said, doesn't fumble, doesn't throw picks. Is phenomenal at moving around in the pocket. Pocket awareness as good as anyone in the game. Extends plays as good as anyone in the game. When he needs to with his feet, he moves the chains. He's very good at that. He doesn't take big hits. He's extremely durable. He throws a phenomenal deep ball. Great. You want to play cover 2 shell against him and take away Tyreek Hill? Cool. He'll slice you up underneath. I just don't know where you want to take his game and say, this is the hole. This is the weakness in it. It doesn't have one. And that's where I'm with you. When people say he's the best that I've ever seen, it's hard for me to argue with that. To me, I don't like it after 6 years. I always say I haven't seen anyone play the position better in a short period of time. But if you kick this ahead another 12 years and he's doing this, then maybe we are having this conversation that he's the best to ever do it. But I can't find any flaws in his game, and it's evolved and it's changed. And you mentioned something too when we were listening to the clips earlier when he said, and I think this is an unbelievable mature thing, and I go back to Lamar Jackson. Were they really trying to prove that Lamar didn't need to run and that they could be more than just a run team? He said in that second half when the Baltimore defense was bottling them up, but the Kansas City defense was playing so good, what did Patrick Mahomes say? I wasn't going to screw it up for him.
Yep.
I wasn't going to do anything dumb. I was going to let them carry it. He's so mature, even that he's not going to go out and try to force something against a defense that's playing lights out against him. He understood the situation and that he didn't need to score 30 points to win a game. 17 was enough. They didn't score a single point in the second half, and he was fine with it. He's fine with not having gaudy numbers. And when they needed him the most on that 3rd and 9 or whatever, what did he do? Deliver the backbreaker to Valdez-Scantling.
As good as it gets, man. He's no Brock Purdy, but I mean,
few can be so irrelevant.
That's right. That's right. Well said. Okay, coming up next, a little TV talk and why did a man bite off his woman's nose? The Club next on The Fan.
Hello, Oregon homeowners. If you're in need of drain clearing, now is a great time to have my friends at 3 Mountains Plumbing do it for you. And right now, they got a great deal. You can call and schedule a consultation for just $30. Wow, just $30 for a consultation. They're also offering a free bottle of Enzyme Drain Cleaner with the purchase of drain cleaning services. Keep those drains clean longer. If you tried to clear it yourself, call the pros.
about. I mean, I know that you're not a big believer in working out. It's not your cup of tea.
Well, I do play golf.
You play golf, but you're not a big exercise guy.
No.
Hundo P.
It's funny in that I work out most days. I work out 6 to 7 days a week, and the sorest that I ever am is when I do a day of yard work. I have that exact same feeling, and mine is always like, how the hell how did 2 hours of that lead to this? You always go in, and it's because it's awkward positions that you're not in.
Yeah.
And yes, yard work to me as an old man, yard work is the most challenging physical activity that you can do. So don't feel bad. I'm right there with you.
Yeah, it's like when you get really fit guy and he goes and plays golf.
Yeah.
And then he gets really sore. He's like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Like, well, it's totally different muscles you don't normally use.
100%.
But this is why yoga is good. It's like yoga prepares you for a couple of things.
Prepares you for yard work.
And they're all old man things. But yeah, like if you do yoga regularly, you'll be able to bend over and tie your shoes way easier. And you'll be able to do yard work without getting sore.
And yet you're doing yoga, and yet here you are complaining about yard work being sore.
I haven't done yoga in a while.
Oh, okay.
I love yoga,
Yeah.
and I swear by yoga. I need to get back into yoga.
And maybe this is the thing that spurs that is a day of hard work.
Not.
You also need to learn too that if you're doing a lot of weed pulling, you got to learn to go granny style. You got to get on the knees.
Yeah,
it's way better.
Yeah, I didn't do that.
If you don't want the knee pads, to get like a piece of cardboard out there or whatever, kneel on that. It's a game changer, because bending over to pick up the weeds, yeah, it's no good.
My wife requested that I buy an apparatus for Christmas where it's like almost like a rake, and you stab where the weed is, and then you step on it, and it twists at the root and pulls it up, so you don't even have to bend over.
Does that work?
Yes, it's
Really?
awesome. Yeah.
Tickle me intrigued.
Mm-hmm. I can send you a link. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, because the weed pulling.
Wow.
It's right out. Of all the activities that I could do around the house, my least favorite is the weed pull. Although I will say that when you get one of those big bastards and you get it up in one clump, it's an amazing feeling. It's an amazing feeling.
I think it's better to pull weeds than rake leaves.
Oh no, I'll rake leaves all day.
I'll take the rake in. I don't think you're gonna be sore from the rake in.
I hate raking leaves. We don't have a lot of leaves anymore, so.
Well, yeah, but raking's not a challenging thing.
But then you got to pick them up.
You're upright. No, man. Weeds is you're down and dirty. Your fingers are going to get sore. Your back is sore. You're crouched. No, the weed pull. The only thing worse than that is maybe you having to lay bark dust, because then there's a barrow involved, and again you were shoveling. It's right out. That's why you can appreciate the people that whenever you get a landscaping quote, it's always way more expensive than you think. You're like, oh my God, you're like that.
But then you watch them.
But then you watch them do it, and you realize that when you did it for like an hour, how bad you felt. You're like, dude, that's worth every penny.
Yeah. No, that's true.
Yeah, because you don't want to be out there doing it. You're like, well, that whole thing should cost me $200. You're like, really? $200? But you go out there for an hour and do it, and then we'll come back and we'll renegotiate the price and see if it goes up or down.
The other thing I have to admit to you is that I am going to punt on True Detective.
Already, huh?
Yes.
So have you started it?
Yeah.
Okay. I haven't started it yet. I planned on diving in, but it's getting kind of lukewarm reviews.
Dude, I don't know what the reviews are. Here's my review. That's it.
So I've watched I didn't see this weekend's because I was gone.
We started watching it last night and I fell asleep.
So I'm two episodes in, and or is it the third?
I think this last night, the one we watched was the third episode.
Okay, so I'm 2 in, and
Look, it's a total bore.
That sounds like the review.
It is a total bore. And freaking
Jodie Foster?
Can't do it.
Everyone hates her.
She's
very unlikable, but I think they're trying to make her unlikable.
Yeah, no, she's a bitch in the show.
Yes.
But I don't like how she plays it. I'm out.
Really?
She needs to call me and I'll give her some pointers.
I'll tell you what, that's because it's usually me punting on shows.
Yeah.
You usually stick it out.
I usually stick them out, and I am not going to with that one. I am so bored. And I don't really even care what's happening out there.
No.
Like they're trying to figure out what's going on out in
the murder, and is it
deads and
is it an evil spirit and what's happening, and
I don't care.
No, you're out. Okay.
Well, maybe I'm back if it kills her.
I don't think that's going to happen.
You don't think so?
At least not till probably episode 8 or 9.
Yeah, they're not killing her 4 episodes in.
Now, if they did, I'd be back. If you came to the show next week and said, "Oh my God, they killed off Jodie Foster,"
yeah,
I'd be like, "Oh, that must be."
I guess I need to go back and rewatch.
I'm going to go back.
I'm not going to lie. I have shows where I'm watching and they're definitely like that, where I hate everybody and I start rooting for the people to die, and it's always depressing when I know that they won't die. Yeah, because I'm trying to think of the last show that we were watching that Kurt Russell show about the monsters, Monarch, Legacy of the Monsters.
Don't know it.
Well, I got on a whole Godzilla kick because a new Godzilla movie came out in the movie theater, and it's really good. I think Godzilla -1, it's excellent. Really, really good. Which, by the way, first Godzilla movie to ever be nominated for an Academy Award.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really good. I couldn't recommend it enough. I'm sure it's coming out on Netflix or HBO or whatever. Give it a shake. It's well done. So I got on this whole Godzilla kick, and there's a show. I think it's on Netflix, might be Apple, but it's got Kurt Russell and Kurt Russell's kid and a couple other famous people, and it's called Monarch: Legacy of the Monsters. And I was like, oh, let's check this out. It's like the origin story of like where we found out about Godzilla and all these monsters. And we were 2 to 3 episodes in, and I said the exact same thing. I want every one of these sons of bitches to die. I was actively rooting for Godzilla to kill them all. And every episode that Godzilla doesn't kill them, my anger grows. And at this point, I'm sticking around in hopes that Godzilla will kill one of them. At least 10 times a show, I say that person needs a Godzilla. Please, for the love of God, someone kill them.
Well, maybe Godzilla will show up in this show.
Wouldn't that be something if Godzilla pops up out of the ice,
light her up,
lights up Jodie Foster, and then maybe you'll be back. It is hard when they make the main character and all the characters very unlikable. I struggle.
Yeah,
with that.
You know who's a really good character? Very interesting show I just watched. This one is courtesy of the recommendation came from one show P1 Officer Potter. Who said because he and I love Narcos.
Yes.
He recommended this Griselda show on Netflix.
I think it's number 1 on Netflix right now.
Yeah, it's with Sofia Vergara. Mm-hmm. She plays this drug kingpin lady, and it's really good. Yeah,
you're into the drugs, are you?
She's great in it, and it's just you were talking about the lead character. Like, she's evil in the show. She's a drug kingpin. She kills innocent people.
That's fine.
Or a queen pin, yes.
But she's likable.
Well, it's complicated. It's like you do.
Isn't that like Tony Soprano, right? I mean, he's this mobster, but like you see a human side kind of, and you kind of root for him, even though he's doing bad things to bad people.
Meanwhile, Jodie Foster is supposed to be like this hero cop.
And you hate her.
You can't stand her.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
Everyone in the town hates her. And,
yes.
It's a whole
bitch.
It's a whole thing. But it does follow the role because, the show is like middle of nowhere Arctic Circle, Alaska, right? Like the worst environment possible, full of like the biggest like redneck like savagery that you're going to have up there. And I do love that the 2 toughest people in town, both women.
Yeah.
You got to have it. The chief of police of the most isolated town and the only state trooper in the entire town that run roughshod over the town. Couple of ladies. Because I'll tell you what, often when you're up there milling around in those small mining towns full of just the scum of the earth, a lot of times it's 2 rough and tumble ladies out there whipping that town into shape.
Well, that's the new theme.
That's the theme.
Barbie and Griselda and Jodie Foster.
I did enjoy the Academy Awards.
What?
The Academy Awards came out, and the Barbie folks are in an absolute frenzy.
Oh, they are beside themselves.
And
you missed the point of the movie.
I find it absolutely ironic and hilarious all at the same time that the Barbie movie, directed by a female, starring one of the biggest female stars on the planet, and it's an entire movie about the male patriarchy and about how males oppress females, and it did $1 billion worth of business, and the only one that got nominated for an award is Ryan Gosling.
And they're losing it.
I want to believe that someone in the Academies was like, hey, watch this.
They did. That was a shot at all ladies everywhere.
You want to see how pissed off we can make? And it's weird because the Academy usually is like the ultimate like equality, and they're very much in that like we're gonna make everything equal. But somewhere someone was like, dude, this is gonna be hilarious. Watch this. And poor Ryan Gosling's like, I'm sorry. It's
like sorry that I did my job well, but don't hate me.
Ken.
I tell you
Ken
what,
got nominated.
I watched that movie.
Yeah.
He is taking sex out of it.
You sexist bastard. I know where you're going with this. You're going to say he's the best part of it.
He steals the show.
Oh, look at you.
He's very good.
Look at you, you sexist jerk.
He's better than Margot Robbie in
I
it.
beg to differ. I found the whole movie delightful except for Ken. Bit of a feminist myself.
Actually, you know who stole the show, as he always does, is Michael Cera.
Yeah, he's fantastic in that.
But he has a very small part, but he's just great.
Yeah, he probably was the best role in that movie.
I just love that Barbie, the movie itself, like sent like the ultra right wingers, like and males everywhere into like some sort of cataclysm. Like they couldn't handle it. They're like, oh my God, women are powerful. And now it's like the other side of it. Now the women are going nuts. It's the most divisive movie of all time. Barbie and Taylor Swift at NFL games are tearing at the fabric of society.
Well, I'll start giving women credit when I don't have to open jars of pickles for my wife. About that.
They did a whole
still need my muscles.
They did a whole Curb Your Enthusiasm about that. Everyone wants to be a pickle jar hero. Everybody did a whole bit when the pickle jar comes out. Everyone wants a crack at it. Everyone wants a shot to be the pickle jar hero, and you can't. Every guy's like, let me get a hold of that. Got to open that thing up.
All right.
You feel very manly when you pop it. You're like, ha ha.
There you go, babe.
But it's also very emasculating though when you can't get it open. She hands it to you, and you're like, I don't know what to tell you. this thing's not budging. Well, I take a hammer and crack it open.
Must be something wrong.
There's no way with my manly
malfunction.
But did Superman put this top on? Nothing I can do.
All right. Why did a man bite off his woman's nose?
Whoa.
That's next on The Fan.
It's the Vancouver Ford text line.
Plenty of time to talk sports today.
One number does it all. 503-8646-FAN. For contests and text in your favorite fan hosts.
Speaking of the patriarchy.
And it was not to spider face.
Nah. I find that the old, is you see that sometimes like in movies, like someone bites the nose, like, some like the ultimate savagery. I find that to be particularly kind of like, of all the stuff you could do to someone, biting off the nose, it's like chimp-like, right? It
feels like the ultimate desperation move. Like you have nothing else you can do. All you can do is your teeth on their face.
Or it's just the most savage thing you can do.
I guess.
Like if you told me that someone was just coming at me straight spider monkey style, like, just the most horrifying thing on earth and what it could do to me, I find that, and I'm not sure which one, maybe it's not as bad, but I find the two things, gouging out the eye and biting off the nose. Like, you rip
like
off
zombie-like.
Exactly. Like you rip off someone's ear, like I'm like that's bad, but I don't know, it doesn't invoke the same sort of thing. But digging out someone's eyeball, like the thumb in the eye, or biting off someone's nose, there's something just medieval about that just makes me go, ew.
I feel like the nose would be very hard to bite off.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Soft tissue, I don't know.
I don't know.
I mean, if someone, Again, you're probably insane if you're doing it, or maybe you're high on bath salts. I don't know.
This guy was neither.
Huh?
Well, maybe he's insane. I don't know. But he wasn't high. But he is in jail.
Probably should be.
He is behind bars after biting off his girlfriend's nose.
Yeah, you can't do that.
They had an argument. This is in San Antonio, Texas. And according to the arrest affidavit, his name is David Marin Jr. He broke into his girlfriend's apartment after she ignored his calls. He and his girlfriend...
Don't do that.
They'd been dating since December of 2022. However, the affidavit said that he took his belongings from the apartment 2 weeks before this incident. So he goes into the apartment, and police said he notices some employment papers belonging to the girl.
Okay.
And they said that they then started arguing about her going to work as a stripper.
By the way, you have to fill out paperwork for that?
Well, yeah. I mean...
Or was it like you just saw her 1099 come in or something like that? Like, wait, who's this employer?
Yeah. She got to fill out her... Yeah, you got to fill out it's all on the up and up, dude.
Yeah, I guess.
Well, during the argument, he allegedly grabbed his girlfriend by the throat. He started choking her and eventually grabbed her close by the shoulders and bit her nose off.
I will say, in defense of this gentleman here, if you are trying to keep your girlfriend from being a stripper...
That's exactly.
Yeah, I mean, biting off a piece of someone's nose... I'm guessing that would do it. I'm guessing that would
or would that
you from.
Well, I don't know. Could it be a novelty?
I'm looking here at the photo, and
how are we looking?
That's pretty rough. That's
what's her name?
That's pretty rough. Allison Dylenko. Yeah, and I will confirm she's a hot.
Allison No Nose.
Yeah.
Next to the stage.
Yeah, that's it's not good. Yeah, you don't want that. Said he had a crazy look in his eyes. Yeah, I would say so. Can't be biting off people's noses. That's all bad. Don't do that. Kind of terrifying too. Again, it just goes back to that very primal sort of anger situation. And it is a full-on hunk. I mean, that thing is... He got the whole tip.
Yeah, and I guess the thing too is that they couldn't find the tip of the nose anywhere.
Did he eat it?
Then she thinks he ate it.
Oh my God. Cuckoo. Yeah. That's
I don't like that.
Do you mean to eat? Did you mean that, or was it more of like?
Was he so worked up it just accidentally went down the wrong pipe kind of a situation?
That's what I wonder. That's what I wonder. Like when you bite that off, is it just? You're in the moment and like you're like and then it goes down, or did you bite it and you really think, hey, I'm gonna go ahead and do that?
Well, they should probably break up.
Yeah, she did say that she didn't realize her nose was missing for like 2 hours until she looked in the mirror.
How is that possible? That seems. Was
fishy.
she high? Was she drunk?
It does seem like look,
you would know if someone bit off the front of your nose.
Well, again, not that it was the same thing, but I did have my face bit apart by a dog. And I will say that upon getting away from said dog, and I could feel and see all the blood running down my face, the first thing I did do was go look at a mirror. It's pretty standard operating procedure.
Well, and he bit her in the face. Wouldn't she be checking the mirror too?
I would think so. Yeah. I would think that that's the very first thing that you would do is go look at the mirror. But I don't know. Maybe there was so much blood. I don't know. Maybe you're just like covering it up, and then I don't know. I don't know how all that works. But it's what sort of jail time do you get for biting and eating someone's nose? And do you get more time for eating the nose as opposed to biting and spitting?
I don't know, but it's whatever it is, it's aggravated. And that's not good, right? Like when they add the aggravated
I don't think you
assault.
want aggravated. That's not good.
Oh, is someone telling us Bachelor's Inn is back up and running in Coos Bay? Did you know that?
I did not. Well, it burned down, so we've rebuilt.
I guess it's back.
Well, I will say that if this young gal who's been through a very traumatic experience and is now missing part of her nose, if she is looking for a place to dance, I suggest?
Hell yeah. Should be the hottest one in there.
I was going to say.
Even with no nose.
Having been to the Bachelor's Inn one time, and so I'm not here to cast judgment on anybody, but from my brief 20 to 25 minutes in that place, if you told me that the girl I saw with the tip of her nose being gone, I do think that she would be the star attraction at the Bachelor's Inn. So,
yeah, like I said, novelty. I think it's going to work in her favor.
I don't know. Well,
things are looking up.
You might want to have. You're going to probably have to go to a specific sort of club in order for that to. I don't think necessarily your high-end places are going to be welcoming you with open arms, but
Yeah, I'm looking here at their Instagram page.
Yeah.
Bachelor's Inn.
Yeah.
Yeah, they rebuilt that.
Okay.
That thing.
I don't know.
It's all pink.
Oh, they've gone pink now, huh?
Pink theme, yeah. Looks nice.
Is it like new and improved?
Not really.
Yeah.
Just looks like it'll be dingy in about 60 days.
Well, that's what I was wondering, because obviously it's pretty is in pretty rough shape, and then it burns down. So you would think that rebuilding it would be like new and nice.
Not really.
No.
Just the stage there, and it looks exactly like it used to. It's just fresh paint.
Well, then at least give them credit for rebuilding, right?
Yeah, you thought they'd be dead. Huh?
I thought they'd be.
You
done.
can't kill the Bachelor's Inn.
No, well, and it's the only establishment down in that area, right? I don't think there's another one.
That I don't know.
So
I don't know that.
It does have 4 stars on Yelp, by the way.
Really?
Yeah. Looking here at Yelp reviews, Bachelor's Inn.
Well, they do pour a stiff drink, I can tell you that.
That they do. It only has 16 reviews, actually 3.9 stars to be fair. I'm interested to see.
Okay.
I kind of want to read one of these and see.
Who are the 16 people going on Yelp and reviewing the Bachelor's Inn?
David D. from Napa, California, in 2021 gave it 5 stars.
Guess he had a good time then.
And I quote, best place ever.
Wow. What do you suppose happened to that guy in there?
My buddies and I were traveling to Coos Bay for some fishing, and we were planning on doing salmon, but we caught something else instead. He dropped a tuna reference.
Oh, dear.
Upon arrival, I noticed that they claimed to have fancy ladies, and boy, howdy, were they ever. I gave the door...
Fancy ladies?
Fancy ladies.
No, they're not.
Yeah?
I've been there.
He said, I gave the doorman a 20.
Confirmed, not fancy. One of them was pregnant.
Yeah.
Wait, what did he say? He gave
the doorman a 20.
Nice, that's a good move.
And he said he gave $16 back. So he said, what kind of strip club charges a $4 cover? An amazing one.
So he liked that he only had to pay $4 to get in there?
Yeah. He said
that's $4 too much, by the way.
Yeah. Well, remember I negotiated without even realizing. Because when I showed up and the lady said, that'll be $4, the first words out of my mouth were $4. Not because I was...
She's like, all right, 2.
Yeah, and she just was like 2. And I was trying to explain, I'm not trying to negotiate. I just was surprised at the $4, but she goes 2. Gave her $2 and then I went. She said, my buddies were scared and I wanted to leave, or they wanted to leave, but I wanted a show, !
Okay, how about the review from Priscilla? Gosh, Coos Bay, Oregon. I was in Coos Bay, Oregon, came across an amazing day/night bar. It was open early. Parking is very accessible. The food was great, especially their ranch sauce and fries.
Gross. Ranch sauce?
That's what she said. The ladies are all different, but very attractive. I would definitely come back.
I can't read a lot of David's review. He did say that someone tried to pick up his $20 bill but couldn't because it was too sticky. And he said that alone was worth my money, even though my friend wanted to vomit.
Okay. Anybody else want to party with David at all?
Yeah. He's describing another girl, which in a way I can't describe, but she commented on how good my weed smelled. Okay. He had a fatty in his pocket, and I let her know.
Smell good weed? Is that a thing?
You can certainly smell weed. And
no, I know. Can you smell good weed?
Oh,
like when you smell weed.
I mean, I guess if it smells stronger, it's probably better.
Do you go, oh, that's really good weed? I don't know. I'm asking.
Then it goes on. This is a real review reading off Yelp. She wanted to know if she could come party with me. I told her I wasn't looking for a call girl. She said, baby, it's free.
Hell yeah. No wonder he had a great night. He loves it. He's like, 5 stars. This place is great. Don't even have to pay for it.
What is happening?
How about the Coos Bay local that says, I guess I'm a little different than a lot of guys, but I view nude dancing as more of an art form rather than a means of boosting your libido before going home to the old lady.
That's right.
And so he was a little bit, he thinks they should do the tease a little bit better on the dance, because in his words, there's nothing sexy about a woman dropping her panties and waving her something half a foot from your nose.
There's nothing, what? Better?
There's nothing sexy about it.
Oh, he doesn't like that.
Yeah, he
likes
wants
the art form.
He wants the slow play, the art form of the clothes coming off.
You're not getting that.
Yeah,
at
not
the Bachelor's
there.
Inn. Look, if you're looking for some sort of Shakespearean Midsummer Night's Dream dance, it's not coming your way.
I'll tell you what, I smell a new segment coming on. Strip club reviews.
I love that people.
These are great.
That someone is coming home and like, you know what? I often wonder who writes reviews.
I know.
Anywhere.
Do you ever?
Not unless
on anything.
Not unless someone asks me to, like a business or whatever. It's like, hey, can you leave us a review? And I'll be like, yeah, I'll and it's usually about 2 lines. It's like, hey,
this is great.
Yeah, this is great. Thumbs up, whatever. But these people are actually taking their time to sit down and write out significant reviews of their experience. Maybe I should write my experience of The Bachelor.
Yeah, I could write mine too. I'd be fair about it.
Jeez. Well, I mean, 3.9 stars. There you go.
Not terrible.
No, it's terrible, all right.
Hello.
All right, we need to attack a story head on.
It's what we do here.
And it's the story of, now this was not the really cold game. What was the really cold game? Oh, that was Miami. Chiefs Dolphins.
Yeah, it was like the 4th coldest game in playoff history.
This was not that game. But did you see that there were a bunch of Chiefs fans that died in that dude's backyard?
I thought that was during the Dolphins game.
It was the weeks before that.
Okay, yeah, and I've yet to see like an explanation of exactly what happened.
Dude, that story's weird.
Yeah, True Detective style.
Well, that's what they should do this season.
We'll tackle that. Yeah, better than Jodie Foster's ass.
You do get naked Jodie Foster, kinda.
What?
You didn't see that?
No.
Are you back in?
Yeah.
You need her to die or show her up tops?
Yeah, Jodie Foster. Yeah, she's got a very aggressive sex scene.
When? In the second one?
Yeah. All of a sudden.
No, I just didn't. That show's so boring.
If it's,
I missed it.
She doesn't show him though. She's wearing a bra the entire time. So that may.
Who's she making out with?
Some older chief guy. It's the 2 old people going at it. It's not. But it is Jodie Foster. So you got that going for you.
All right, we'll get to that story next. Here's Buck.
Now, from the Spirit Mountain Casino.
beyond bizarre upon first examination of it. I have not seen any follow-ups on
Very bizarre.
Little homoerotic, perhaps?
Oh, really?
Ooh, is that so? I don't really know the details.
think
I've
so.
only seen headlines that people are confused about what might have happened.
Yeah, nobody really seems to know. Okay, so there was a group of Chiefs fans who went to this dude's house to watch the regular season finale against the Chargers. This was January 7th. This was not the super cold game against the Dolphins. Days later, they discovered three of their dead bodies frozen in their friend's backyard.
Yeah. Made me think of the True Detective. If you haven't seen the first episode of True Detective, it's a bunch of dudes. They're working out at a Arctic research base, and they all strip naked and end up frozen in a big pile of naked humanity out in the middle of the wilderness.
Yeah. So there were three of the dudes frozen in this guy's backyard. Now, the way they found him was one of the guys who died, his fiance called the cops. Was like, he has not come home from watching the Chiefs game.
Yeah.
This was like 2 days later.
It's so weird. Yeah, one of them claimed that guy claimed he went to sleep for 2 days and didn't wake up. What sort of bender were you on?
So one of the men was on the terrace while the other two were down in the backyard. The homeowner, however, claims to have no knowledge that the bodies of his friends were frozen in his backyard for approximately 48 hours.
Yeah, the whole thing sounds...
So does he say that he thought they left? Or like, what like... So he must have thought they departed if he didn't know they were in the backyard, right?
I would assume so, yes.
Yeah, so
if you were hanging out at my house and then I didn't see you for 2 days, I would assume that you had gone home. Although I feel like, I don't know what size the yard it is, but I do feel like if you were frozen in my backyard, I would have found you, or my dog would have been bothering with you. I at least would have poked you with a stick. Like something's going on.
They are saying that the case is not being investigated as a homicide. Family and friends of the deceased still have called out the homeowner, saying that they knew that people were looking for the victims and that he had read text messages from those who were searching for them. So he knew they're texting him like, hey, what's up with these? Where are our dudes? They were at your house watching the game.
Yeah.
And one of the gals wrote, this man was inside his home alive with my friends, and they died in his yard, and they were down there for Lord knows how long. They were all hanging out since after the game on Sunday. He knew people were looking for them. He read messages of people searching for him, and yet says he has no knowledge.
Look, there's only, again, my first thought when I first heard it, I'm not kidding. I was like, oh boy, were they doing something weird and it got sideways? But they were doing drugs. I don't know what drugs they were doing, but there was some serious... If the one dude didn't wake up for 2 days, dude, that's not alcohol. I was down in Arizona for the last 3 days. I can assure you that I made so many poor choices with what I put into my body. I didn't sleep for 2 days, nor did I freeze to death. There's some fentanyl there. There's some crack. There's some something. You were into some serious stuff for you all to freeze to death.
So this one says, my husband banged on his door for 20 minutes. My friend banged on his door and then busted a window and yelled and announced her presence while she's inside, and still nothing from him. Then the cops come. 10 minutes later, he comes out all nonchalant in his boxers with an empty wine glass.
Oh boy.
Nothing is adding up. Dave, Clay, and Ricky need and deserve justice.
Yeah.
The homeowner's attorney is adamant that the homeowner did not know his friends were still in the backyard, and that it was not unusual for his friends to leave their cars at his home overnight.
No,
that's it. That's the end of the story.
Nah, the whole thing's horse crap.
Dude.
My guess is my man there was like, hey.
What happened?
I was at a gathering once in college where someone had the bright idea of, hey, I broke into the equine center and stole some horse tranquilizer. Do you think I should take it? And look, no one really thought it was a terrible idea. In fact, there were probably some people that were like, yeah, let's go. Needless to say, he was dropped off at the ER later that night. My guess is that one of these dudes was like, acquired something and was like, are we all going to do this? And the guy was like, yeah, absolutely. And then realized that things had gone south and is like, I don't know what happened. This was a collective decision. They were getting together and they were getting loose.
We don't have toxicology yet, right?
No. Something collectively happened. They all decided on something, and my man is trying to pull the ignorance card, and because he can't admit that he was the one that brought the fentanyl or smoked the crack or whatever that God knows they were taking, whatever sort of prescription Skittles party, or maybe there was some other weird stuff going on. But this is a real eyes wide shut sort of thing, and my man's just having to play ignorant. There's no other choice.
Really? Well, why can't he just say, yeah, we were doing drugs?
Because, again, now you're getting into are you going to be charged with it? Like, if you're the one that supplied the drugs, if it was your idea, you got 3 dead bodies outside. Dude, this guy ain't going to say nothing. He's going to say, I guarantee he's lawyered up, and his lawyer's like, you don't say S. You don't know what happened. As far as you know, you drank a bunch of whiskey, you fell asleep, you woke up 20 hours later because you were on a bender, you thought your friends were fine, next thing you know, popsicles outside. You stick to that story. The truth is never coming out about this. That dude's going to take that to his grave.
The only other thing that I would have a question about is, like, is there any chance that he has some, like, culpability, responsibility, and they didn't all die at the same time, that he wanted to make sure there was nobody else to tell the story? That's what I would wonder.
You go outside and 2 of them are dead and one of them still kind of
And it's like,
twitching.
so the terrorist one, you're like, I got to take care of this last one, otherwise I'm going to be on the hook for these other 2.
Wow.
I mean, I watched a lot of crime documentaries in my time away.
Dude, when you're all messed up, dude, weird stuff happens. Like, you start getting into some psychedelics, and you mix it in with some painkillers, you mix it in with some uppers and some downers and some booze. I guarantee that these friends, this isn't like your normal everyday crowd. My guess is this is a group of people that are no stranger to the fine arts of chemicals.
Well, I mean, their photos are on here. They just look like football bros.
Yeah.
They're mid 30s.
Yeah.
There's nothing. I mean, they don't really look like drug addicts per se.
This one on the left, I don't know.
Well, that's the owner.
Yeah. Look, that guy's seen some stuff. Maybe it was his idea. He's like, dude, you got to try this.
Well, anyway, very weird story.
Yeah, I'm guessing that we don't ever hear this. But like, it just that whole Frozen thing. It's just, dude, your friends, or what you thought were your friends, they're just frozen dead in your backyard.
Yeah, the guy's lawyer said he was asleep on the couch for 2 days. While his friends' loved ones.
I don't even know that that's like medically possible.
Well, they tried to contact him.
Yeah, no.
And they're not investigating as a homicide.
And my guess
I think they will be.
Yeah, they're just going to come back and do an OD sort of thing. And maybe they did. Maybe they all just OD'd outside. And the fact they were doing it outside was one of those, hey, we're going to do something and I can't do it in the house.
They said temperatures were in the low 30s those 2 days.
Yeah, that's a lot. I mean, you're not freezing outside unless you're just passed out.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not like it was like 2 degrees.
Right.
I think I've told this before. My dad was a prosecutor for the state of Alaska for years and years, and he worked in appeals. And one of the stories I asked him once, like, what was the craziest thing he saw? And there were a bunch of dudes and they were ice fishing up middle of nowhere, Alaska. And all had been heavily drinking because ice fishing. And one of them had passed out, like in the tent. And they go out, and one of the bros had fallen through the ice.
Ew.
And so they drag him up out of the ice.
He had passed out and then fallen through the ice?
No. He just was out ice fishing, and they were all, they'd all been drinking. And somehow he fell through the ice or fell into the hole and goes down. So the other buddies drag him out of the ice, and they get him back into the tent, and they strip him because, you got to get your clothes off. Mm-hmm. So they strip him down, and they're rubbing him. And so they'd start taking off their shirts because, like, skin to skin. So they're trying to warm him back up. So they're trying to get they're trying to save his life. They're trying to keep him from hypothermia. And so my man wakes up from the, whatever booze, drug induced, whatever he has, and sees, I think it was 2 or 3 of the guys rubbing his friend who's now naked, and they're like rubbing him furiously. And the dude wakes up and thinks that they're assaulting him. And the man goes and gets the shotgun that's next to him and unloads and kills.
Whoa.
And these are all his friends. And he kills him. And he ends up shooting the guy that had fallen through the ice.
God.
Yeah, murdered them all. Yeah, I woke up and he thought that
this was appealed? Did he get thrown in?
Yeah, he was convicted.
Yeah.
He was convicted.
And so
yeah. Okay. But yeah, he murdered, I don't remember if it was 3 or 4, but yeah, he woke up and he was all messed up, and he had a gun by him, and he woke up and that was the first thing he saw was just his friend naked and a bunch of other dudes with their shirts off, all rubbing him and like shaking him, and he thought,
well, does look a certain way.
That was his excuse. So I'm telling you, man,
didn't work though.
You throw some cold, you throw some drugs, you throw some booze in there, stuff gets wild. Yeah, that was my dad claimed that was one of his most like bizarre cases that ever came across his desk. When he would deal with appeals, and he's like, "Yeah, you didn't win that one." My man, my man ended up going to jail for a long, long time on that one.
All right, Andrew Nemec standing by. He's coming up next. We'll wrap it up when we return on The Fan.
Duck fans, that was close.
When I think of Oregon, I think of innovation, and we're ahead of the curve. We've got a plan. We've got great support. If there's something I need, I can go ask for it.
But the Bama Hammer strikes close to home.
It was the allure of Alabama for Kalen DeBoer. Kalen DeBoer is a guy who he has worked his damn way up, and he's earned it. The NAIA is the epicenter of the Alabama
That's enough for a Monday. That's enough. Actually, it's not.
It's been a lot.
It's enough of us. It's not enough of live local programming.
No, you need more, and we're going to give it to you.
Yep. Andrew Nemick is coming up next.
Disappointed I didn't get a chance to give you my hot rodeo breakdown, which I'm watching here on Fox.
Yeah. I don't know. Rodeo's all right.
Guy sits on a horse for a little while.
Well,
yeah, bull riders are crazy.
Kind of interesting.
Except they wear those cowardly helmets now.
Yeah, it's not like
can you believe they don't want CTE?
It's not like the old days.
No, they got chest protectors on and helmets.
Not the same badass cowboys they used to be.
Nope.
What's next? Assless chaps.
That's the best part about it.
Can only hope. Nemick next with recruiting. We are back tomorrow, 3 to 7 on Fang Night.
Red chips of space.